What in the world would cause a young Mormon man to apply to become a Mormon missionary and then to decline his mission call once it comes? Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Mormon Stories podcast. I'm your host, co-host John DeLynn. It is September 5th, 2025, and today we are going to be interviewing a young man who recently received his call to serve a Mormon mission. And because of a series of events, once the call came and the time came to serve, he decided not to go on a mission. His name is Benson Lawson, and he's joining us here in studios. Hey, Benson.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. How long ago did you put your papers in?
I put my papers in twice, actually, and I got denied once, but the actual time I put it in and it got accepted was in March of 2024.
Yeah, so a year or two ago, right?
Yeah,
a
while ago.
So pretty current. And if that weren't awesome enough, as always, we try to have my co-host Margie with us. So Margie is in studio and she'll be co-hosting today. Hey, Margie.
Hi there.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah. All right. Well, our audience loves missionary stories. And even though your story is maybe not a normal Mormon missionary story, we found your outline and your audition video to be super compelling. So anything you want to say as a disclaimer or as an intention before we jump in? Some people might want to know, why are you even doing this? You know, do you want to state an intention or just jump in?
I mean, disclaimer, I didn't actually go on a mission, so I don't have any real missionary stories. I never got chased with a knife or anything, but I mean, my intention for coming here was to show other people out there that it's all right not to go on a mission. You don't have to go on a mission if you're Mormon, and there are other ways of life. You don't always have to live the pure Mormon paradigm and still be a good Mormon, and you don't even have to be a Mormon for that matter. There's another way of life, and the Mormon church isn't the only way
for happiness. And is it fair to say you were pretty in it to win it, Orthodox Mormon, up until the time you applied?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
A straight and narrow path kind of guy.
Yeah.
I did everything by the rules. I think something that brought me lots of success in life was having an outline of rules that I followed. And I was pretty good at following rules. I think that's why I had a lot of success in my, high school career. But once college hit and I had a little bit more freedom,
the formula changed.
It just kind of shattered.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was when I realized I could do something else in my life. So
yeah,
that's when things started falling apart, and I had kind of a faith crisis, like a fifth life crisis.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, we'll get into all that. So
yeah,
welcome Benson Lawson to Mormon Stories.
Thank you.
All right, so where does your Mormon story begin?
Medford, Oregon.
Okay,
that's where I was born.
Where's that?
It is in Southern Oregon, near the Willamette Valley. That's where I was born. I grew up in Grants Pass, Oregon. Yeah, and something I like to state about Grants Pass, Oregon, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but there's like a Utah Mormon versus other Mormon kind of thing. Do you know about that?
Yeah, tell us about it though.
Yeah, so Grants Pass, Oregon, I'd say from my experience is a little bit more Utah Mormon. And eventually I moved to Redmond, Oregon, which is where I had middle school and high school. And they're a bit more other Mormon, not being as Orthodox, not being as rule following.
So the Utah Mormons are by the book,
yes.
Obnoxious, conservative, strict.
Well,
maybe not obnoxious, but
maybe we wouldn't use obnoxious.
Sorry. What words would you describe?
I don't know. Obnoxious. Yeah, but yes, you get the idea. Strict, all that.
They feel right. They feel very right in what they're doing.
Yes.
Okay, and the Oregon Mormons are more low key.
Yeah. Well, Grants Pass, Oregon.
Okay.
Utah style.
Right.
Like I'd say there's different sects of Utah Mormons outside of Utah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I grew up ages like 1 to 10 in Grants Pass, and I started with the very Orthodox, very in line with what the Mormon Church wanted.
Okay. All right. So what comes next in your story?
All right. So both of my parents were converts to the church. My mom wasn't raised in the Mormon Church or raised in any religion for that matter, I believe. But when she was around 14, her and her sister both converted to the Mormon Church. And then my mom met my dad around college time, and my dad joined the Mormon church for my mom. So my mom was baptized at 14, I think, and then my dad when he was 18, I believe, and then they got married. And then they had me eventually in Grants Pass. From there, I began to grow up after I was born, obviously. But in Grants Pass, I began living a normal Mormon life. It was pretty ordinary for having a Mormon childhood. Singing primary songs, going to church every Sunday. Before elementary school, I didn't see the world outside of Mormonism because everyone I hung out with were Mormons. We had a little singing group, I call as a singing group as it was called, I think. I don't know, where everyone met at our house, all the kids my age, and we would do like primary songs. It was just a little fun music group we had. But once I got to elementary school, I made a bunch of friends, and lots of which weren't Mormon. So I began to see this world outside of Mormonism. But nonetheless, I still stayed in the church, obviously. And we had the missionaries come over often. And this is when the mission was reinforced in my life. When missionaries would come over, we had a list of questions to ask them. I think there was 4 questions. First one was, where are you from? Second one was, why did you come on your mission? Third one was, how did you pay for your mission? And then fourth one didn't show up till later, but it was, do you have your Eagle Scout? And what'd you do for your Eagle Scout? But yeah.
Wow.
And I'm guessing because your parents were converts, they probably had a special love for missionaries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
they loved having missionaries over.
would, and not all maybe Mormons would care about missionaries at the same level, but there's certainly certain active Mormons that always want to invite the missionaries over, have them over for dinner, and just really get to know them.
It felt like we had them over 2 or 3 times a month, honestly.
That's a lot.
Over a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always loved having them over. It was just a nice big dinner we'd have and nice just chatting it up, having a lesson afterwards. And as a kid, I think it's funny when the missionaries come over. I have 2 younger brothers, so they're like, both very childlike at the time. Having the missionaries over, the missionaries are trying to do their lessons and the kids are being rambunctious the whole time. So it's a little fun and games, a little silly.
Growing up, I'm curious, like with your family culture and like, what did your family's lived experience of Mormonism feel like? Was it very conservative? Were there a lot of rules? Did you follow all the things? Was it a little bit more relaxed?
So growing up, the way I was raised is lots of rules. My parents were still married at the time. They eventually got divorced, and my other 2 brothers were raised a little more lax. But for me, I had a lot of rules to follow. And just from a young age, this rule following was reinforced. I was very good at following these rules. And with this reinforced from a young age, having to do everything right, having to do everything by the books. And with that, I began to learn like the importance of following the rules in the church, because it's a very rule-oriented church. And eventually, when the church started making everything a bit more you can choose, because back early 2000s, there's a set list of rules. Preach My Gospel back then was more yes and no.
That's the missionary curriculum, right?
Whereas nowadays, with not Preach My Gospel, sorry, for the Strength of Youth, it's been a while.
That's fine. So the youth pamphlet for moral standards for youth.
I'd say both, honestly. Preach My Gospel and for the Strength of Youth. Both were very hardcore rules. Whereas nowadays, it's a little bit more, here are some rules you could follow, or here are some things that are discouraged. But then in the end, it's kind of
like before it was no tattoos.
Yeah.
No multiple ear piercings for girls.
Yes.
No R movies. And a few years ago, the church changed it to
encouraging and
to basically say
things.
We're not going to condemn tattoos anymore. We're not going to tell women they can't get multiple piercings.
It's just discouraged.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a little more autonomy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But were you saying you grew up with the rules?
Yes.
The rules version. And it sounds like for your personality and your brain, would you say that it was a good fit?
Oh, yeah.
rules growing
Yes.
up when you were younger, especially?
For sure. I'm
Okay.
not autistic, but I think there's a little bit of it there. So the rules, the very set outline of life really fit who I was
Yeah.
and who I am today.
Yeah. Yep. And here's another question I have about your family, your experience of your family and home. Did you feel like the rules of the church made their way into your home as well? In other words, like was your home culture a bit of a mirror to the kind of church rules and church culture?
Yeah, very much so. We had family home evening every Monday night. Sundays, we weren't allowed to go anywhere. We weren't allowed to watch movies. We were allowed to watch like old Disney movies and church movies and like Veggie Tales, but that was it. Saturday was the only time we were allowed to play video games. My dad loved video games, so I like video games too, but
Yeah.
yeah, but we had these rules from church making its way into my life. Or my home life, but we had nightly prayer, morning scripture study. My mom would take us to like the table before school and we'd read the For the Strength of Youth pamphlet. So yeah.
Oh, wow. Yep.
And do you think of those years your parents were together and you were trying hard to live the Mormon lifestyle as relatively happy?
Yeah, I was
years?
happy.
Yeah.
I mean, towards the end of my parents' marriage, it was pretty evident that, things weren't going great and that this had to end eventually. But when we lived in Grants Pass up until age 10, I was pretty happy, I'd say so. Everything was in line. Everything was great. I was just a kid living life colorful and stress-free. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. With a layer and a layer of missionary, like I do
Mhm.
think is important to kind of say, a level of having maybe more than average missionary influence in your home, the importance of missionary work, and in this case, literally bringing the truth in quotation marks,
Mhm.
or salvation to your parents.
Yeah. And something I want to add is that as an incentive to serve a mission, my mom said that I could get a parrot after I came back, or that she'd get me one. And it's a parrot because I broke my arm when I was 5, and I got like a beanie baby from the hospital, and it was a little beanie baby parrot. I call it Jabbers. That was its name, but she said I could get a parrot when I came back from my mission. So that was my very young incentive.
Right.
I don't have a parrot today.
A real life parrot.
Yeah.
Not just
You never got the parrot.
No.
And what message did you get from the church or your family about your responsibility to serve a mission?
I mean, it felt at that age, it didn't even feel like it was responsibility. It felt like a requirement. Like I didn't see a life where I wouldn't serve a mission at that young age. I just felt like it was something that I was going to do before the rest of my life happened. But yeah.
So maybe moving into your teen years, how were your teen years?
So I moved to Redmond when I was 10. Moving to Redmond, I think a great thing about the Mormon church is that no matter where you go, I wouldn't say no matter, but most places you go, you'll have people to turn to. Like we moved to Redmond, Oregon, and immediately when we got there, when we were moving stuff out of our moving truck, we had people there helping us. And from that day, I made some good friends who I still talk to today. But that's a great thing about the Mormon church that I definitely do kind of miss, just having a community, having people no matter what. So in my teen years, though, everything was pretty good, still the same Mormon outline up until about high school. And freshman year of high school is when COVID hit towards the end of that year. And that was when things began to take a turn for the worse for my Mormon life. Back around this time, For the Strength of Youth still hadn't been revamped. It was revamped. Do you know what year exactly?
It's a few years ago.
A few years ago, yeah. When I was a freshman in high school, so this had to be, I think 2020 it was. It still hadn't been updated, so dating was still pretty strict. You couldn't date until you're 16. And when I was 15 is when I started having interests. And with that, I met my first girlfriend. Her name was Mackenzie. And we dated on and off throughout high school. And she was not Mormon. She was raised Catholic, but I mean, she didn't really go, but she was not Mormon. I did not want to influence her to be Mormon. I'm kind of, even at the time, I was still very, I don't want to change people. I think that's something that really made me not want to go on the mission in the end, because I'm not a big fan of changing who people are. And that's reflected throughout my whole life, I think. But I did not want to change who Mackenzie was. So I never like coerced her into coming to church, never talked about her to, or talked about church to her really. I kept it out of our relationship. But yeah, our first round of dating only lasted like 3 months. Freshman in high school, what can I say? But
Yeah.
yeah.
As a freshman, would you say your testimony or so your beliefs and your lived experience of Mormonism, was it pretty intact?
Oh yeah. Walked
From
in,
being
perfect.
okay.
Yeah. I think I had the Aaronic priesthood at that time. I was at church every Sunday. My parents were still married at this time. But at this point, I could see my dad starting to falter. But nonetheless, I'd go to church. I'd pray for my dad a lot. And I'd pray for other people. I pray a lot. I prayed a lot. I'd be writing in my journal every night, studying my scriptures. I was going to seminary every morning. And this is when things like, I think freshman through about junior year of high school is when I was the most Mormon, when I believed everything to be 100% true. I think had I stayed that kind of Mormon for the rest of my life, I would have done very well in the Mormon church, but it didn't last for who I was.
Did your faith influence your breaking up with this girlfriend the first time?
Not the first time.
Okay.
It did the second and third time.
Okay. Keep going. I was just making sure.
I was going to just observe your personal habits.
My habits?
They sound like you were, what would I say? Just like very all in and on it
Yes.
with regard to, because you're mentioning journal, scriptures,
Prayer.
praying a lot. So you're taking it seriously.
Yeah, even then, or now and even then, I do very well by having a routine for my life. Routines are what make me thrive. Waking up, I'd pray, do my scriptures, and get to seminary, do some more. We had 6 a.m. seminary where I'm from. So I was up early, and then school, I'd work out, come home, or go to work, depending what year it is. And then scriptures, journal, pray, and do it all again. And even today I have a routine that helps me succeed, just minus the LDS stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got back together with this girl apparently after breaking up.
Yeah. I don't remember the exact timeline for it all, but like we liked each other. It was just like messy with COVID, and her grandparents weren't super into her dating. My parents they were chill with it. My parents, throughout my whole life, they just want to make sure I was happy. They didn't let my happiness be taken over by the Mormon church. They wanted to make sure that I'm living a good life. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah,
But
that's big.
yeah, next time we got together, I mean, same thing pretty much, except this time, at this point, school was back in session, except we were wearing masks. And I don't know, things were great. I was still pretty Mormon. And then come around next summer, sophomore year, COVID had just ended, I think, or it was still going around, I think. But this was the point where my uphill of life hit the peak and then went down with respect to Mormonism. That's when my parents got divorced. And it definitely, like I said earlier, was a long time coming. My dad is the band teacher at the local high school, and my mom, she now works at an elementary school in a town 20 minutes north of Redmond. So my dad had been teaching, and I could tell my mom, or things were starting to be different, because a couple years, or I could tell that my parents were talking about the divorce, or that it was going to happen soon, because my mom was working towards her master's degree for teaching. She became a teacher recently. She was a stay-at-home mother during my childhood, my brother's childhood. So her getting this degree, I think, was a way to prepare herself for being a single mother.
Oh,
yeah.
But at the time, what I'm hearing is you had a sense that it was going to happen.
My dad does every 2 years, because he's a band teacher, he goes on a trip to Europe with the Oregon Ambassadors of Music. On this trip, he drinks a bit, smokes a bit, and I didn't know this, and I would be going to Europe for the summer of my junior year. So in preparation for telling me about this, he kind of told me around the time my parents were getting divorced, my mom and him had a sit-down discussion with me. It's like, hey, Benson, just so you know, I'm going to be drinking, I'll be smoking. And this took me aback. My dad always drank coffee, and he was a convert. He came to church only for my mom. And with that, I could always tell he was on the fence. Like, he came to church, he did all the right things. He had the priesthood. My mom and him were both temple workers when they were my age. So they were very in on the church, but my dad was always just in it for my family. There was a time, I think it was 2016. It was when we just moved to Redmond. My dad was drinking at a local like pizza place or something, and the owner of that pizza place was Mormon. Surprising to me that the owner was serving alcohol despite being Mormon. But
the Marriotts serve alcohol
yeah.
and distribute porn in their hotels. You know, it's just Hotel Utah that was owned by the church used to have a bar. You know what I mean? Like,
hey, what can I say? Money.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But the owner caught my dad drinking alcohol once, and this was 2016. So I didn't know about this until I was talking with my dad pretty recently. But the owner told on my dad. Bishop brought him in, and then the stake president talked to my dad, and my dad told the stake president pretty much to F off, because if you take this out, or if you take this out on me, take this out on my family, you're going to tear my family apart. So nothing was done about it. My dad just kind of lives the life he wants to live at this time.
How old were you when this was going on?
12. I didn't hear anything about it.
Okay.
My mom didn't know anything about it at the time. My dad was kind of he had his own life apart from the Mormon church, where he did the things he wanted to.
Okay. So you're kind of mentioning this time that you heard that your parents were getting a divorce,
Mhm.
right? I guess my question is, at the same time, are you aware that your dad is not really active?
Yes. So before the divorce, my dad had been active for like half a year, or inactive for about half a year. That's when the conversation we had was. Sorry if I didn't make that clear. But up until the divorce, my dad had been pretty out of the church. And then once summer hit, my dad left the church.
Okay.
And he still lived with us for about a year because my mom, my dad, they care. I think the great thing about the divorce is that they cared about me and my two younger brothers the whole time. They wanted what was best for us, no matter what happened with them. So my dad stayed with us for about a year. He lived in the shed out back. But he eventually moved and got his own apartment. And with the divorce agreements and all that, my two brothers got split custody. And because I was on my way out of high school, they let me choose. So I chose full custody for my mom. And the split custody between my brothers will be important later, but it's the reason why they are a little bit more lax with the church. And with this divorce, this is definitely the beginning of my family falling out of the Mormon church. Before this, we were like one of the core families in the ward. Like, I don't know how it is in Utah, but there's definitely like a few select families that are like, I don't know, the big parts in the ward. Like, you see them there every Sunday. They always go to every activity. That is what the family we was. But this definitely changed there.
Okay, so I guess something that comes up for me is you're describing yourself as like really appreciating rules. It's a comfort to you. You have a routine. So how did it impact? It feels layered. It feels like you're experiencing your dad and having a journey maybe away from Mormonism. Did that affect you, I guess, is my question. And then the divorce too. It feels like you have a couple layers that might, I guess I'll ask you, how did it impact you?
Yeah.
Those two things.
When my parents got divorced, like when they told...
It was a temple divorce? They had been temple married?
They were temple married,
okay.
But I didn't know anything that happened on that level. And I talked to my dad pretty recently about it. And he says they didn't do any of the paperwork. Like, they're still paperwork-wise sealed.
Still sealed.
Yes.
But civil
They
divorce.
didn't really care enough to go and get it all done.
Yeah.
Because I think does it cost a lot of money or something? Is there a
It's
lot
just
to
a
it?
hassle. There's a lot of paperwork, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty
And
sure
there's no need unless the woman is wanting to be resealed
Mhm.
to a new husband.
Yeah. So as far as Mormonism goes, my dad and mom are still celestially married.
Okay.
But
I get that. That happened to me. Yeah.
yeah. As far as myself goes, though, the divorce did hit me pretty hard. It was the first time where I think I felt like the genuine sadness of loss in my life. But it did not affect my routine at all. If anything, it gave me more motivation to be a good Mormon. I prayed a lot more for my dad, for him to come back to the church. Because, like, the only thing it did is it brought a lot of questions about what's going to happen to my family in the afterlife. This is when I started doing a bit of digging. Like, this is the first time I started looking into questions about divorce, because it's a very opaque region. I didn't do any like outside digging, but I asked a lot of my church friends, church adults, and honestly, I never got a clear answer.
Yeah.
But I think what I settled on was that my mom and my dad not being married wouldn't affect our celestial eternal family, because I settled on that because that's what felt right for me.
Yeah.
And it may not be necessarily what the church says is true. Like, isn't what the church goes by that with the divorce, the man can remarry, but the woman can't unless a man chooses her? Is that correct?
I mean, I don't, for as long as I was a member and paying attention, the man could remarry as many women as he wanted to and get sealed to them all. In other words, have multiple plural wives
Polygamy.
sealed to him in the hereafter.
Mhm.
But if the woman wanted to get sealed to a different man than her original husband, they had to fill out all the paperwork and have the original sealing canceled, because forever a woman could only be sealed to one man, but a man could be sealed to as many wives as he wanted.
Okay. Yeah. But I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I never got straight answers.
No.
Because everyone gave me different answers.
Yeah.
So I just settled on what I felt was right.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to believe.
Yeah. Which was
that I'm still going to be going to the celestial kingdom. I'll still be sealed to my mom with my dad. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about my dad.
It all get worked out in the hereafter.
It all works out.
Yeah.
We'll be happy in the end. That's what
right.
matters.
And that's pretty much that's the only real doctrine the church has today.
Yeah. Everything's
just
changing, but they always keep that, I think.
God's fair and loving and everyone will be happy.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
And hey, what's bad about that?
Yeah, it's good.
What did you worry about your dad? Did you
A
have
lot. I worried about
Okay.
my dad a lot. I prayed, like I said, I prayed a lot about him. I really wanted him to come back to the church. I never like talked to him about it, because something that's going to be important, I think, later on, and that's reflected in my life, is that my dad often doesn't get very emotional. We never really have deep conversations. And this is, I think, a trait for the male Lawson in my family. Like, my dad doesn't really get deep. My grandpa, same there. I've never really had super deep conversations with my dad or his dad. And I think that kind of reflected on me. I was never one who shared a lot about my emotions. So coincidentally, I never really took these things to him, took my worries about our future in heaven. Yeah.
Plus, he didn't believe. So what's he going to help? How's he going to help you resolve the sealing situation in the afterlife if he doesn't necessarily believe any of that is true anymore?
I mean, like you said, it all works out in the end.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's like, I was resting on the idea that maybe, 20 years from now, you'll see the truth. You'll see the light. So he comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did the church impact your dating life at all, your beliefs in the church? And if so, how?
Yeah. So after the divorce, I think around this time I was back together with Mackenzie.
The non-member.
Yeah. Still not a member. Never became a member.
Yeah.
But we broke up second time. We dated like throughout sophomore year, and they broke up second time. I forget when exactly, but I remember when I broke up with her that time, I remember like the explicit things I told her is that I don't see myself marrying you. I don't see having an eternal life with you, because she wasn't Mormon.
Yeah.
So the Mormon church definitely impacted my dating life, and the reason I chose to break up with her at that time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then,
And how are you feeling about the looming mission?
this was junior year. So it was still far off my mind.
Okay.
I didn't begin worrying about it until like senior year when I
Okay.
started having to apply for colleges, scholarships, and a mission. But at this point, I was okay.
And then your experience of school
School?
and kind of your identity in high school. How would you describe that?
Okay. Junior year, I took AP U.S. history. And in that class, we learned a lot about the history of the U.S. And with that, the Mormonism was mentioned. In the like late 18th century, early 19th century, there's like a bunch of religions appearing, like the Oneidas, the Shakers, and then the Mormons were there with them. That was my first thing. It's like, are we just another one of those religions? Why did we last so much longer? Or why do we have such a much bigger population than the remaining ones today? There's that. And then the Mormon Meadows Massacre that was mentioned in the history book.
Mountain Meadows Massacre. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Mhm.
No, it's good.
Okay, yeah. Mountain Meadows Massacre. Yeah, there's that. And that took me aback. I had never heard about that.
For those who don't know, that's when Mormons in southern Utah killed like 100 to 120 pioneers traveling from Arkansas to California and dressed up as Indians to make it look like the Indians did it. But it was a massacre of like 100 to 120 men, women, and children.
Yeah, and there's just
Mormons did it. Yeah.
a Netflix documentary or something. Not a documentary, but a show.
Dramatized.
American Primeval.
Yeah, Primeval. I watched it. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I learned about that. That took me aback. I asked questions. I read ahead in the textbook, so I knew about it before it was lectured on. Reading it in the textbook, I took it to one of my respected adults in the church. And basically, the answer I got was that it was a different sect of Mormons. There were lots of different sects. It wasn't us.
No,
Don't
that's
worry.
not true.
That's
No.
a new one. I haven't
I
heard
had
that
never
one.
heard that either.
Yeah.
No, that was mainstream Mormons. I guess they were probably confusing them with the FLDS that live in southern Utah, but the FLDS hadn't developed yet in 1850s because polygamy was still okay in the mainstream Mormon church in the 1850s. So
yeah. So I guess I got lied to apparently.
probably unintentionally.
Yeah. And then when it was lectured on in class, I was like the one Mormon in class. For reference, my high school, in my grade, there were 2 Mormons.
Mhm.
And then there's a couple others in the younger grades. But in Redmond, we had a pretty small Mormon community. And so I was like the Mormon. Everyone knew me. I was the Mormon. Everyone brought questions to me about Mormonism, like, oh, you can't drink caffeine, you can't drink soda, stuff like that. But when it was brought up in class, they talked to me about the massacre, and I gave them the answer that I received. It was a different sect of Mormons. We're the good ones, don't worry. Yeah, that was the biggest point in high school, I think, with a little doubt I had with Mormonism actually affecting my high school career. And I'd say that's it for my junior year of high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you attend Young Men's and did you
Oh, yeah.
enjoy Young Men's?
Oh, yeah.
Stake dances and youth activities and all that.
I did. I don't know. If there was a Mormon thing, I was there.
And you enjoyed
Oh, yeah. I had a great time.
Mutual, whatever it's called, Young Men's, Young Women's.
Whatever.
Yeah. And I guess this is a little bit in the past, but I did get my Eagle Scout. I got when I was 14. I think the Mormon church left, or they took out scouts. And it's the reason I heard it was from my mom was because the scouts were having homosexual leaders. Was there anything else?
Well, that's what they told everyone, but the real reason was because there was so much sexual abuse happening in the church that the Boy Scouts had so many claims against it that they ended up going bankrupt, and the church was a big part of that. So it was really around sexual abuse, child sexual abuse liability. But the way it was spun to Mormons was, oh, the Boy Scouts are becoming liberal, letting the gays in, that kind of thing. So
I like this. I'm learning stuff.
Oh, you didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I was one of the last Mormons, I think, in the U.S. or not in the U.S., just like one of the last Mormons ever to get there.
Eagle Scout.
Yes. I got like.
What year was that? 22?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't know. I was 14 at the time.
Yeah.
Do the math. That's like 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If that's right. But like I got it in December. For reference, my birthday's on December 23rd.
Yeah.
So I got like right after my birthday. And then the new year hit, and that's when Boy Scouts were out.
Okay.
You slid in. You slid in with the
Yeah.
Okay. So your senior year, anything important for your Mormon story?
Okay. I feel like as far as interesting things in my life goes, it begins around here. Over the summer between junior and senior year, that trip I mentioned earlier that my dad goes on to Europe every year where he drinks and stuff. I went on that trip. I got to go to Europe with the Oregon Ambassadors of Music. We had like a 3-day band camp at Oregon State University. We played a bunch of like patriotic tunes, some tunes for like France, I think one of the country's national anthems. But the countries we toured in were France, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And basically the whole crux of the trip was we got to go to all these countries. There's like a big 300 student band, a big choir. We go around, play concerts in every country, and just kind of be tourists for a while. And this is from high schoolers all over the state of Oregon, just going out and hanging out. And there's a bunch of different groups of, they call it buses. I was on the Lime bus, and it was from students within the Central Oregon area. On that bus, there's 2 Mormons. There's me, and then a girl who lived in a town about 20 minutes north of me named Olivia. At this point, Mackenzie and I were still dating, but Olivia and I, we were like the only 2 Mormons. And in my outline, I have her label as Mormons, or Mormon, but yeah. So she was Mormon, but not really. I didn't really know that, but
Meaning she didn't live the standards?
yes,
or what?
I thought she lived the standards. She lived the standards for me, and she made it look like she was a good Mormon because she liked me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but so on the trip, I was still with Mackenzie at this time. I wanted to be a good boyfriend, so I didn't do too much with Olivia. But we kind of hit it off. We were pretty good friends, and after the trip ended, it was a fun trip, by the way. Great time in all the countries I loved. My favorite town was probably Rothenburg in Germany. It's a city, very medieval, surrounded by a wall. Had a great time there. But after Europe, after coming home, Olivia and I had hit things off pretty well as friends, and we kept in contact, chatting, and just like she was Mormon, I was Mormon. We were pretty good friends. We were both kind of attracted to each other. So I had this little inner conflict. Do I stay with Mackenzie, who's not a Mormon, or do I get with Olivia, who is a Mormon? It was a tough cookie to crumble. I don't know. But Mackenzie and I did end up breaking up, and then about a month later, Olivia and I got together. I'd like to think that I didn't cheat on Mackenzie, but it may look that way. I personally like to think I didn't, but
We're not judging you.
okay.
To be clear, not a bishop's situation
Bishops
here.
are really
Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember did you agonize? You're describing an inner conflict with
Mhm.
regard to did you agonize about that? Did it feel, in retrospect, maybe I'll ask now, are you feeling like you made the decision with church in mind? That was kind of the breaker around the breakup?
Yeah, this was the last time Mackenzie and I, like this was the end of our on and off dating throughout high school. And there was a big inner conflict. It was really tough to make the decision. And in retrospect, I feel very guilty about the decisions I made because I was still a locked in Mormon then. But looking back on it now, the decisions I made weren't with like what I wanted with they weren't with what I wanted in my mind or Mackenzie's mind. They were with what the church wanted, with what my eternal salvation had in mind. So I did not break up with Mackenzie solely because I wanted to be with Olivia. It was solely because just Mormonism. She wasn't
Right.
Mormon. That was like the big factor
Sure.
to why I ended up getting with Olivia.
Yeah,
Totally normal.
that's right. That
Yep.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep. Mormons are supposed to date Mormons. Full stop.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So what happens next?
So up next, Olivia and I are dating. This is senior year in high school. Before the mission call, before college, all of that, I'm like thinking about it. The time is now. All the stress is beginning to build up. Like I have to do all this now. And over Thanksgiving break, I have a really bad panic attack. Like on the floor sobbing and like shaking
Oh.
kind of thing. And I had never had anything like that in my life.
Wow.
I was, like I said earlier, not a very emotional person.
Mm.
And I was a very stressed person though.
Yeah.
Like I'm always very stressed, always stressed about school, making sure I'm doing enough in life.
Yeah.
Being a good Mormon. And I felt like at this point over that Thanksgiving break, it just kind of all came out.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? What was mounting? What pressure?
The
What
pressure.
were the different pressures in that moment?
So there was school,
Mhm.
college,
Running?
mission.
Were you running?
Running. I liked running.
Okay.
I love working out.
Okay.
Yeah. I was in cross country at the time. So running is a way I deal with stress. So
Mhm.
that didn't have anything to do with it, but school, I was in AP chemistry at the time. That was rough, but I'm a chemistry minor now. So it's in the past. Yeah, but there's that panic attack.
School, college, mission.
Yeah. Just everything you'd expect from a high school senior.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's kind of like the applications are right there.
Mhm.
Would you say also, were you very high achieving? Were you very perfectionistic? Was that part of it?
Yeah. Yeah. I was at the end of senior year, I was a valedictorian
Oh.
at my school.
Yeah.
I had a 4.6 GPA and
wow.
on a 4.0 scale from like AP classes and college stuff. And that is definitely attributed to the rule following aspect. I'm very good at following the rules.
Yeah.
And I see classrooms and learning just like another set of rules pretty much. But yeah, I was very high achieving. So I felt like I had to be doing everything all the time. I was in a ton of clubs. I was doing a sport every season. I was also in band, which was a year-round thing. So I was always doing something. My days, my schedules were always packed. And then I was working too.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
It sounds exhausting, honestly.
Yeah. Like I'm doing like not even half as much as that. And it's still just exhausting sometimes. Like looking back on life, I can't imagine doing that much again. I can't even imagine how I did it at the time.
Yeah.
It was just a rough life doing something all the time.
I get that. And early morning seminary, waking up at 5:30. Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. So panic attack, that's pretty, I mean, that you kind of feel like you want to die when you have a panic attack. Yeah.
Like it was like 2 hours long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sorry.
What happened after that?
This was Thanksgiving. I turned 18 come my birthday in December. And after that is when I started applying for a mission. On my mission application, and to preface, I've never been honest about my mental health or what I'm feeling. Just like I said, I'm an emotionally closed person. But on this mission application, I decided to like be honest for the first time in my life. On the application, there's a whole bunch of sections about mental health and like experiences you've had in life. On like the area about anxiety, I talked about I have a history of anxiety in my family with my dad, my grandpa. I feel symptoms of it a lot with school. Under the depression section, I talked about COVID. COVID was really rough for me. It was one of like the lower points of my life. I talked about that. And then under the panic attack section, I talked about that panic attack I had. And that all got submitted. And with that, I got I noticed back from them, the mission department, a couple months later. And we were all wondering, like, why is it taking so long? Why haven't I gotten anything? And then we get back and it's like, you can't serve your mission right now. And this was a really big, like, stab in the heart for me because just before this, there had been a talk from President Nelson. Couldn't tell you which one it was, but there's a quote he says that goes like, any able and willing person who wants to serve a mission should and can serve a mission. I was able, I was willing, or at least I thought I was. So I applied and I didn't get called, and it was just heartbreaking for me to not get called on my mission.
Yeah.
And there's probably other kids who had similar or worse symptoms who maybe didn't mention it or and so you might have felt like you were punished for being honest and for having, especially around COVID time.
Yeah.
Probably some pretty normal anxiety
things.
And depression symptoms during a really difficult time for everyone,
for a global pandemic, we would expect anxiety. That would be something that makes sense.
Maybe, I don't know.
No, yeah, that's definitely one of the things I talked about with my mom a lot. Like this is one of the harder points in my life, like dealing with the not being able to go on my mission. but I had a lot of talks with my mom just about like being honest, and it got spit back in my face for being honest for once in my life about my mental health, and it was just really rough for me.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Especially with how high achieving you are
Mhm.
and your high status believer in the ward. Everyone's expecting you to apply for your mission and get your call. And then if it gets delayed, then you have to tell everybody, oh, it was delayed. And then, of course, Mormon mind is like, what's he into porn? Did he have sex? And it's shaming if you don't get an immediate mission call when you apply. I'm guessing. Tell me if that's right.
Was that true for
This
you?
is exactly like you got it word for word, exactly what happened pretty much.
Okay.
And for reference, at this point in the church, I'm first counselor in the priest quorum. I'm blessing the sacrament every Sunday, and I was like senior seminary class president too.
Yeah.
So I'm basically like the
golden
model. The
Yeah,
model.
I'm the role model.
We
I'm
used
the
to call
highest.
it Peter Priesthood is what we used to call it.
You were like, the church did not get that memo on me.
Yeah.
And even with my like high academic achievements at this time,
Yeah.
I took this as not a setback, but a failure. And failure is just a rough thing for me to deal with, not having to face it often.
Yeah, you don't hear about valedictorians denied a mission.
Yeah.
More faithful Mormon valedictorians who are said you can't serve, yeah, or at least have to be delayed, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how'd that go?
So when the mission denies someone their mission call, they send you a counselor to talk about your mental health. And the counselor I got was super cool. We only met a couple times because I told her, hey, I'm fine now. It was in the past. I wasn't fine. But at this point, I really wanted to serve my mission again.
Yeah, I'm gonna lie if I have to.
Yeah, you wanted to fix it. Is that it?
Yeah, I needed to go on my mission. I didn't want it to interfere with my college too much. I didn't want to put my life too much on hold, because it does that. You have to take 2 years out of your life to serve a mission. And I didn't want to go to college for 2 years, be a sophomore, then go on a mission and come back 2 years later. Like, I wanted to go on a mission ideally before college, so I could do college all in one go, but it's not how it worked out, or it's not how it was going to work out. But I had a meeting with the counselor, told her I was all right. She believed me. Everything was good on her end. But then there was this test. I don't know what test it's called. I think like police officers and other people have to take it too. But it gauges like your mental health and well-being. It's like 200 questions. After taking it, my result was that I was faking being all right. I don't know how it told that, but I mean, it got me right. So
I wonder if that's called if it was the MMPI.
I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Do you know, what is that?
Oh,
How would you describe
think
it?
A personality assessment, but it definitely is used not so much to diagnose, but to see what people's personalities are like, whether they have personality disorders or whether they're lying or faking or hiding things. Honestly, MMPI.
Yeah. So I took that.
Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory.
Okay.
Wow. I must have gone to grad school in
Look
psychology.
at that memory. Could we have a minute? Let's have a minute.
I could have gotten it wrong, but that's my memory. Anyway, we digress. Keep going.
Yeah. So after the mission department got that notice back of my result, there was a very long waiting period. During this time, I was like, there's a week, 2-week intervals in between these back and forth to the mission department, because they're a pretty big company basically, and they're getting back to one person like me. So during this time, rather than feeling like a member, a person, a missionary, I just felt like a number, another person in their books to go out there and get more members, get more people to pay tithing. That's how I felt like I was being treated. I didn't feel like I was being treated by God. I felt like I was being treated by people who don't care about me, people who don't really need me. And it was definitely a rough time. And during this time as well, I'm applying for colleges. Sorry, colleges plural. Colleges singular. I applied and got into BYU, and I had deferred my mission for 2 years. Or I'd gotten a 2-year deferment. I didn't get any scholarships from BYU, surprisingly. That was a really
As a valedictorian, that's
it was
strange.
weird for me. And I
Yeah.
spent a lot of time on my essays too. I had a couple random like small scholarships from my local area, but BYU is cheap, so it didn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't apply for any other colleges. I didn't really apply for anything that didn't apply to my Mormon path in life. So I didn't get notice that I wouldn't be serving my mission until late June. And for reference, I applied in March, and the whole back and forth lasted that long, from like March to June, basically. And it was a long, long time.
Can you just take a minute and describe what it felt like to be in the waiting place of that? Do you remember how you felt from March to June, just kind of waiting for a response?
Okay, super anxious. I'm someone who I don't procrastinate at all. I like having things done as soon as I can. So having something out of my control was definitely like defeating. I couldn't do anything about this. This is beyond my hands. It was in God's hands now. It's just the way I looked at it. But I knew it would work out in the end. And this was also a rough time for Olivia and I, because the mission was this looming dread throughout our whole relationship. There was one time at the beginning of our relationship where she told me like, we only have 30 times less we'll see each other, because she assumed we see each other like once a week because we live 30 minutes away from each other. So she told me that once, but the mission was this looming dread throughout our whole relationship. And as it came closer, I still didn't know whether I was going. I didn't know if Olivia was going to stay with me or break up with me. I didn't know if I was going to get Dear John'd or whatever would happen. But
yeah,
towards the end of our relationship, like end of senior year, I could tell that she was on her way out of the church. I could tell that she wasn't the person I thought she was. And when we broke up, she like told me the different life she was living outside of the Mormon church. There was a time when I asked her a bunch of questions. At this point in the senior year, I was a very critical thinker, and I began having some Mormon questions. I'd say this is the beginning of my faith crisis, because I asked her a question, or just using logic, I put together that gay people can't be in heaven and black people can't be in heaven, or in the celestial kingdom at least, because to be in the celestial kingdom, you can't be gay. To be in the celestial kingdom, you can't be black. Or I guess that's not locked in, but I made the connection that the Lamanites were cursed, and they're cursed with the skin of darkness. So if you're cursed with the skin of darkness, are you made white when you go to heaven? That's the question I had. And
interesting. Yeah.
And I just kind of answered it for myself using
logic,
like history of the Mormon church, the way they had things. And I like asked Olivia these things, and I remember telling me once that, wow, you're making me question my faith. And then I took these things to my bishop, and he gave me the answer to make things like look right in my head. He's like, no, it works out in the end. Don't worry.
I never thought of that. But Mormon doctrine is that your dark skin is a curse. And when you are righteous and exalted, everything will be made white. So no black or Native Americans would be allowed in heaven, Mormon heaven, technically.
Yeah.
Celestial kingdom anyway.
At this point,
I never thought of that.
I'm seeing problems with the celestial kingdom where everyone's basically just a nice, pure Aryan. Like all the imperfections are taken away, but the quote unquote perfections are just being white, being blonde, having blue eyes.
What is the ideal?
Stuff like this. Yeah. So like all the tattoos are just taken an erasure too. I remember there was a person in my ward who once told me they knew someone with Down syndrome, and that this person with Down syndrome would be made clean in the celestial kingdom. They'd be made without Down syndrome. They'd be perfected. And I don't know, just hearing that at that age, it just felt kind of gut-wrenching. Like, yeah, we love this person, but we'd love them more if they didn't have Down syndrome in heaven. And this is like the point in my life where I'm seeing just all these little... This is like where my shelf started getting built, I'd say. But yeah.
And this is, to be clear, is this senior year?
Yeah, this is still senior year. Still in the point where like I'm just waiting on my mission call, because like I expected my mission call to be a nice, linear, easy process. but it's rough. It's a very rugged path. So naturally, my faith is pretty rugged right now too. Although I'm still doing everything right, I'm just having these little thoughts. Yeah.
I'll just say, from the church's perspective, not to defend them, but my understanding is anxiety and depression rates and early mission return rates have skyrocketed over the past, definitely during COVID, but also over the past 5 to 10 years. Like almost a double-digit percentage of Mormon missionaries are returning home early from their missions, and a astronomical percentage of Mormon missionaries have significant anxiety or depression. So I'm guessing, if I can just maybe guess, the church wanted to make sure you were healthy and wants to make sure they have healthy missionaries so they don't have to pay for and subsidize and or train people, get them out there, and then have them come home early.
Yeah, that was the exact reason why. Like, they didn't want me to come home early.
Yeah.
That was, I think, a good enough reason.
Yeah.
But in my head at the time, like, I knew I'm a very steadfast person. I stick with goals.
You're not a quitter.
Yeah, I don't quit. So I knew, like, if I went out, I might be like super depressed. I might be having a horrible time, but I'd stick with it to the end.
And that's not good for you.
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's a bit gut wrenching.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so I wanted to ask you, during this time from, let's just say, the panic attack on, I'm just feeling all the stress for you. I'm curious about coping. I'm just curious about your resources, or if you were able to see a therapist, or like, how did you cope with the high levels of anxiety that you were experiencing?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked that. That was a point I missed. But I still have yet to actually talk to a therapist. I'm not great about explaining my feelings to others, but at this point is when I did find a coping mechanism for myself that works great for me. I still employ it to this day, but it's writing poetry, getting my feelings out on paper, getting my feelings stated like in an indirect way works really well for me. And that was like the mechanism I used, I guess. And yeah.
So during this time you started writing?
Yeah, this is when I started writing, and writing is just a hobby for me. I love writing. I love reading, and poetry was just a means that helped me deal with my emotions, and it works great for me. And like, I feel like modern day, I don't really need a therapist because poetry, it works.
Nice.
I'm happy.
Okay.
Yeah. But at the time, I think a therapist would have been highly beneficial for me.
Right.
Yeah. And that's,
sorry.
oh yeah. Something I regret was not seeing a therapist, not being honest with the therapist, but it worked out. So
yeah, that's right. And it's interesting. So writing, was this connected at all to journal writing, or was it completely different? That first time you sat and wrote a poem, or, do you remember, was it associated with like the time that you would normally journal write and then you wrote a poem, or did you literally just sort of midday take out a sheet of paper? And just curious from the creative.
So I started writing because I had my AP literature teacher in high school. Her name was Mrs. Mensing, still a great friend of mine till this day. But she's super into poetry, super into literature, and she recommended that maybe I write poetry because I felt comfortable enough around her to come to her with my problems, tell her what's going on, and she recommended poetry. So that's when I started writing. But my poetry writing versus my journal writing, very different. It's black and white. My journal is just I'm a horrible journal writer. It's just very black and white, just kind of like statements like, today I went to school, today I did this, today I did that. Never feelings, never emotions. It's just, I kind of write in my journal what I want my kids to see in like 20 years. I want them to see that everything's all right, that I'm being a good person, doing everything right. That's what I wanted my journal to be. But I did poetry on my own time. It was just a hobby. Never during my journal time. It was a completely different thing.
Wow. That's really beautiful. Thanks for explaining how that kind of emerged for you. It makes a lot of sense. And don't we love a good teacher? A connected teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
So there's your mission call return and your BYU stuff.
Okay. So end of June, beginning of July, around that timeline was when the mission department like finally got back to me. Took a long time. and they said, we don't want you. You have to take a year deferment for your mission. Just have some time at college first, then reapply. So I forget when BYU starts exactly. I think it's late August. But at this point in my life, graduation had came and gone. Olivia and I had broken up because she was going off to college. And this period between the summer of between senior year and freshman year of college, I felt like high school gives a very, very good regiment, very good routine, and that was stripped away from me. So it's definitely a rough time of figuring out what am I doing with my life, because right after I graduated, I still hadn't had this answer about the mission call yet. I still hadn't guaranteed my BYU or told BYU I was coming this year and not 2 years from now. So it's just this waiting period, this grace period. But then when I did get notified that I had to wait a year for my mission, I got to BYU or got back to them, told them not going on a mission, coming to you this year. So in the span of like 2 months, I got my BYU scheduled together. I got book spot. I got an apartment. And for reference, freshmen usually stay in the dorms. But at this point, I hadn't done anything with housing yet because I expected I was going on a mission, right? I put my life on hold for the mission. But then last minute, I found out I'm not going. So I was like, what am I doing? So I had to get in an apartment. We found like little ways around the dorms. But I lived in an apartment for my freshman year. But in the span of 2 months, I went from Redmond, got everything ready at BYU, and moved to Utah. And there, I think it was like mid-August.
Wow.
And that was just definitely a time of just like scrapping things together. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say, when you heard that you like going on a mission actually wasn't going to be an option for you immediately? Did you feel rejected? Did you feel kind of this sense of like, oh, so they're saying I'm not good enough?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Something I'm very good at though is coming back from things strong. Like getting rejected, there's definitely like a 2-day period where I felt defeated, felt like a failure, felt like I wasn't good enough to be a Mormon, to be a success in their eyes. But after that little period passed, I was back into it, doing the things I needed to do, doing the things that I thought would make me happy, that I thought I needed to do to be happy. Yeah.
So how'd you like BYU as a freshman? What?
Yeah.
Hey, we both went to BYU. How dare you? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
I was told, like going into it, I expected it to be a great time. I was told by lots of people that it's really fun. You're going to have a great time. So I went in super optimistic. And when I arrived, like I'm a pretty introverted person for reference. And I've got something called, or people say I have something called RBF. Are you aware of that term? Resting bitch face.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm someone, if you see me like sitting at a cafeteria table, I've got a straight face. And something I've noticed is people won't usually come up and talk to me unless, I start the conversation. And I'm not super great at starting conversations all the time. So making friends was really hard for me at BYU just because I'm pretty introverted. Also,
the dorms at BYU are set up to give you a really good social experience. And if you're a freshman just in the apartments, you're it's easy to probably feel alone and isolated.
Yeah.
It's a big school.
30,000 people.
30,000 people, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Did you like your classes?
Yeah. Yeah, my apartment complex, it was the Bountiful Courts apartment. It's about a few blocks south of campus. I had 5 roommates, 6 people in a pretty cramped area. I had 3 people in one room. I was on a bottom bunk.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's cozy.
And it was just random people. But that worked out. My daily schedule at BYU was I'd walk to work early in the morning. I got a job doing custodial. It was 4:30 to 8:30 a.m. I got that one because minimum wage kind of sucked here at the time. And that was the highest paying job I could find with a job with experience I had, just cleaning. I got $14 an hour for that, which still wasn't great. But I go to work. After work, I'd do classes, and then I'd work out at some point. I donated plasma a lot for passive income at Grifols Plasma. Yeah. And something great about BYU is you're your students aren't drinking, they're not getting tattoos, they're not doing drugs, so their plasma is super clean. So lots of BYU students donate plasma. So I
I
think
didn't know that.
during my time being there, I donated 10 liters. I made a
Wow.
bunch of money doing it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Did you feel like having the backup plan, being able to go to BYU, did that buffer? You spoke for a minute about feeling rejected.
Yeah.
Anytime we're talking about Mormonism, we have to consider the social pressure aspect. Do you feel like going to BYU buffered the reaction or disappointment from those around you? Were they like, oh, but it's okay because he's going to BYU? Or did you still feel a sense of letting people down, being judged as not good from other people, like your ward? Or will you just speak to that for a minute?
Yeah. So BYU was my backup plan, and I put it in place to be a backup plan, and it was a good thing that it worked out for me. But had it not worked out, probably would have just gone to like a local community college in Central Oregon area. But BYU was my backup plan, and people in the ward, I think at this time, they didn't judge me too much for it because they knew I was going to eventually serve a mission. I had never given like official talks about serving my mission
Yeah.
yet. So
Okay.
like people knew I was going to serve one. They just didn't know whether it was going to be before or after my freshman year of college.
Yep.
Like the only people who knew that was rejected was my close family, so my close friends, and then my bishop.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
So anything other that was eventful? Did you do 2 semesters at BYU? And
Yeah. So I only went 2 semesters. It was like barely a year being there. And this was definitely one of the lowest times of my life. This was like after Olivia broke up with me, that took a pretty hard toll on who I was. And then like I was doing great with Olivia and then break up. And then at BYU, this low just kind of stayed there. It was pretty bad. Waking up early every morning. I'd have to wake up at 3:30 because I'd have to walk to work every morning. So I wasn't getting enough sleep usually.
Yeah.
Classes weren't that bad, honestly. They were freshman year stuff, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I was a smart enough guy, but classes weren't horrible. It was just I got really homesick a lot. I have dogs. I miss my dogs a lot. Seeing a dog at BYU was always a highlight because I'd go be able to pet it. But I really miss my dogs, miss my family, I had a really good group of friends in Redmond, and we all separated, went our different ways for that time. So I really missed them.
Yeah.
And at BYU, I felt like my only purpose there was just kind of getting my freshman year done, waiting for my mission. And I planned to reapply for the mission that following year. Like it was early winter. This was 2024. So
it's last year.
Yeah. I had to make sure I was in a good mental state, though. I had to be mentally healthy so I could be accepted on the mission. And I never was. So this is the point where I just like masked my mental health. I masked all the problems I was having. And the BYU culture didn't fit with me. The pure Mormon culture didn't resonate with me whatsoever. So I was masking all the problems I was having, all the sadness I felt, the mourning I had. And I did all that just so I could get accepted on my mission. Because if I don't get accepted, then people are going to start asking questions. Then people are going to start wondering, is he really a good Mormon? What's going on in his life? They're going to think other things besides depression. They're going to think things like breaking the law of chastity, infidelity, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're masking your depression and anxiety, but wanting to reapply.
Yeah.
But also lonely and
Very
homesick and wanting to get home. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else at Provo?
Yeah. While there, I was still doing my journaling, and I brought quotes from my journal just to kind of give an inside view
that'd be great.
Go ahead.
What my life looked like. Like I said earlier, these quotes aren't super good. The writing isn't good. It's just kind of like a routine day-to-day life, short sentences. Don't expect any literature here.
We like real. We're good.
Well, this isn't real.
Oh.
Or like these journaling quotes aren't the most real. Some of them are, but most of them, like I said, were what I want my
That's right. So
kids to
there's a
see.
self-consciousness to it
Mhm.
and kind of a filter that you're giving the part of yourself that you expect to be read later,
It's
which
called
is very different.
It's a posterity journal.
Yeah.
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 And this journal went through, or the quotes I brought go through, like right after graduation to like sometime around last year when I was at my current university. But I'm gonna do some of the ones from like graduation to around BYU time.
Okay.
So this is June 28th of 2023. This is when I don't know what I'm doing with my life really. I don't have my mission call yet. And
yeah,
this is like a low of my life. I'm losing sleep. My stress is increasing. My sadness is growing. Work pains me. I'm just waiting until I leave. Then what? I need help. I really need help. I don't know what to do. Yeah. And like looking back, I can't believe I was writing this stuff down without seeing that there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
And then July 15th of 2023, this is when I was endowed. This is a whole nother, aspect of my Mormon journey. But this is what I saw when I was endowed into the church. Today, I drove to Portland with my mom and received my endowment. It was a new but very spiritual experience, and I'm excited and anxious for what the future holds. I hope I find happiness and fulfillment. Yeah, I was endowed in the Portland, Oregon temple. So going there for the first time, it was super weird. It was the first time I saw all the cultish things.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, despite thinking how weird it was, I still masked it in this journal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Next up is August 21st, 2023. I had moved into Provo by now in my apartment, and I think it's my first night actually. So I moved into my apartment this morning, and I'm not happy. I'm not sad. It's just that I'm not happy. I hope I'll meet people who will make me happy. I miss home already.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, a month into school, September 18th of 2023. I've been a little homesick the past couple of days. I know it'll be okay, but it's hard being myself here. I hope I can find my people. Something I was told a lot going into college from like everyone is that you'll find your people, you'll find your group. And at BYU, I never found that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, a month later, I took like a quote from each month while at BYU. The next up is October 17th of 2023. Today was monotonous. I'm unhappy here. I want to find my purpose and I want to feel good about myself again. Hopefully things get better.
Mm. Yeah.
They're all pretty short entries. Like if I look back at my journal, I have like 20 entries per page sometimes. And it's just my day-to-day life was so plain. Like I said in that last one, it was just monotonous. Day by day, the bad just kept getting worse. And that's what my life was for like 6-9 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Next up is November 6th, 2023. Today was a normal Monday. I'm at an all-time mental low, but it's not really affecting me. I'm just numb. Next up is Christmas of 2023. I went home for Christmas. I only went home once during my time at BYU, and it was just for Christmas break. And that quote is, "Today was Christmas, but it didn't really feel like it. I don't feel like my life is amounting to much. I hope I can find my purpose soon. I hope I can be happy. Christmas was good. Christmas was good, though. Good times with family that I don't want to end." Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The whole time that I went home from that break, I had a great time seeing all my family, seeing all my friends. But the whole time, there's this dread of having to go back to Utah, having to fly back alone, I took the train from Salt Lake to Provo, and it was just that day of travel was just a journey of dread, having to go back to Provo.
Can I pause you for a second?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go crazy.
Something that I really love about what you're doing, like in 2025, for the past 5 years in the United States, there's been a mental health epidemic
Oh, yeah.
with teens, young men, and young adults in and out of the church.
Mhm.
And like, I don't think anybody really understands it and they don't know what to do with it. What you're doing is you're kind of slowing down and giving us a real insider view on an example of the type of anxiety and depression that's like a plague right now in society, in U.S. society. And that's like, you know, I think that's really vulnerable of you. And it's also really instructive for those of us who want to try and understand it better, who may have young adult or teenage kids.
Yeah. This
is really powerful. So thank you.
Aside from like conversations with my girlfriend, my current girlfriend, hopefully my wife someday.
Whoa.
Yeah.
She's here. I'm looking at
Look
her.
at that.
She kind of
Did you
nodded her
catch
head
that?
a little bit. She kind of went, you know, like that for whatever.
Good year. Aside from conversations with her.
No, she just gave a double thumbs up, actually.
That's good. Yeah. Aside from conversations with her, I've never been this vulnerable about my mental health. It's not something I really talk to my parents about.
Yeah.
Talk to my friends about. Although like all my close friends and I are super great friends, we never really get this deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being willing
I'm
to
happy I'm
share
able
it.
to talk about this.
Thank you.
And also, like, it's clear to me in your entries, which are concise, like what you're sharing is so concise, and like very well expressed in few words, I feel. Is like you get that sense of how disconnected you feel from the experience that you're having. Like, I just feel it in your writing that there's this space. You're saying things like I'm numb, and you just feel the actual distance and insularity, like being alone in it. And the Christmas one too, and I have a question around this, it's like you're in a sentence, like you're living a sentence with going to BYU.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is no choice, in other words. It's not like you're actually like, well, this isn't really working for me. I wonder if there would be a better fit for me than. And did it feel that way? Did it feel like you were on this road, can't veer, got to live through it, a sentence,
Mm-hmm.
back to BYU I go, you know? Did it feel that way?
Yeah, for sure. Freshman year at BYU is supposed to be like a fun time. I was told about how fun it was supposed to be. But with my early morning work, with how little sleep I was getting, with how introverted I was, with how depressed I was at the time, those experiences didn't reach me. And I felt like I wasn't living felt like I wasn't living the Mormon life I was supposed to be living. Mm-hmm. And there was just like a sense of guilt there. Like, I'm supposed to be happy here. I'm supposed to be having a good time. And so this is like the self-guilt. Like, am I doing something wrong? Is this my fault? Mm-hmm. I'm doing all the right life choices, but
that's right.
Life isn't working out for me. Like, the Mormon church is supposed to bring me happiness. I'm supposed to find joy through reading the scriptures, doing all these things. I'm in a horrible mental state. It's not working. What's going on?
Right.
There's just so many questions, so much doubt. Not about the church yet, but about my life, about what I'm doing with my life, about the decisions I'm making outside of the church.
Yeah.
It's interesting also, the word purpose keeps coming up in your journal entries.
Yes.
And it's interesting that's one of I list like 8 reasons why people are religious. And I have them, I just always rattle them off. And meaning and purpose is always, 2 of the 8. And it's interesting that you were raised LDS, faithful, wanting to serve a mission, believed in the plan of salvation, yet in your mind, you didn't feel like you had a real sense of purpose. That is interesting to me. That the church wasn't giving you what I assumed the LDS church gives. That's like one of its benefits, is that it gives you purpose, but you weren't feeling it.
Yeah. Throughout high school, like, I still felt that kind of purpose kind of in the church, but most of my purpose was being a student, learning, studying, trying to get that valedictory status. Like, that was a big goal I had.
Yeah.
And that was my purpose.
Yeah.
And that came and passed.
Yeah.
And then, like, I think the only thing I was living on at BYU was like the purpose of being a student.
Yeah.
And I was trying to have the purpose of being getting ready to be a missionary, being a Mormon.
Yeah.
Like, it may have been purpose, but I wasn't happy about it. It didn't resonate with me. It wasn't what I truly wanted inside, but it's the purpose I gave myself so I could fit the Mormon mold.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
And it seems to me too, with your goal of valedictorian, it seems like you have goals and then you work to the goals. It's like you have a sense of control. It's like a game. You learn the rules and you play the game and you succeed, right? Like that. It seems like in other areas of your life, you were able to kind of figure it out and excel. But with the mission thing, you're doing everything. You're trying to and it's out of your control. It's actually right.
I told myself through the whole time, like, oh, it's in God's hands. Things are going to work out. It was not in God's hand. It was not in God's hands. It was in the mission department's hands. The
bureaucracy.
Bureaucracy,
that's right.
It was in the hands of just imperfect men, imperfect priesthood leaders. God had no play in this at all.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear other entries. Do you have others you want to read?
So Christmas was the last one. Next up is January 16th of 2024. As I walk around campus, I can't help but feel meaningless. I want my sense of purpose again. There's that purpose again. Yeah. But next up is February 25th of 2024. I'm really questioning the church. I don't believe many of the things they're putting forth. I believe in God, though, so I'll keep that close to me.
Okay. Now I want to hear what happened in February?
Yeah.
This is last year.
This was.
And you're at BYU.
Yes.
Where is your why you should be in your religion class, missionary prep or Book of Mormon, like gaining a stronger testimony. What happened?
Oh yeah, BYU? I was.
Okay.
I had mission prep my first semester.
Yeah.
And honestly, it felt like a joke half the time being there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't want to say too much about it or too much bad about it.
Okay.
But
not a good fit.
Yeah, it was not a good fit for me. It felt like it was prep for the MTC. And BYU has something called the honor code where they'll give you tests and stuff and they just trust you not to cheat on the tests. We got like these weekly quizzes on the Preach My Gospel, the Mormon handbook. That thing's always changing. I had to study for other things. So I cheated on those tests. No one knew.
Yeah.
And that was like the first time I ever cheated in my life. But I cheated because I knew in my heart, like, this stuff doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I don't really need to learn these things because it's going to change. They're going to like do away with it eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, sorry, my professor at one point talked about cheating in that class. He had a missionary who went on his mission and then he came back later, came to the professor, was like, hey, I cheated on all these tests. And he got his grade taken down from like an A to a C because he was cheating. And I feel like there's that sense of having to be honest all the time. And then that guilt. I bet this guy had a looming sense of guilt all throughout his mission. And then coming back, he repented and tainted his permanent report card. But
yeah. So what was causing you to doubt your testimony in February of last year?
Yeah. Around this time, this is when on social media, a bunch of ex-Mormon stuff started showing up. Prior to this, on social media, I was really good at just like swiping away. Like, oh, this is stuff I'm not supposed to look at. Don't look at it. At this point, honestly, with how sad I was, how bad things were, I didn't really care anymore. And I just kind of watched it.
Can I just say it's ironic because in the Wall Street Journal this week, there's an article. Oh yeah, you're in it.
I'm in it.
Yeah,
Okay. Sorry.
I told him yesterday.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. So just for those who are watching, the Wall Street Journal just came out with an article about how TikTok is causing Mormons to leave the church in droves. And it's got, I'm quoted, but it's got Alyssa Grenfell dressed up in her temple clothing. And it quotes a lot of ex-Mormon influencers. And it talks about the church having a hemorrhaging of membership because of short form social media content. So it was a TikTok basically or Instagram. And do you remember whose stuff you found? So
Alyssa Grenfell is like the main one.
Okay.
Her stuff popped up a lot. Unfortunately, you guys didn't show up until like months later.
What do you mean, unfortunately?
Unfortunately. I wish I saw it sooner, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Well, like you guys, I think, speak very literally, very honestly. And seeing as you're like older adults, not super old, no offense, but like it's easier to respect people who have, a little bit more age, people who have had more experiences. Like I think Alyssa Grenfell, she's a bit younger. Was she like 30 something? Like seeing her stuff, I just thought she was another person just right out of BYU who was bashing BYU for no reason.
Okay.
Like at the beginning of seeing these things, I did kind of doubt them, but
I see.
I had, lots of other faith crises things go on.
I see.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Got
That
it.
makes sense.
Okay.
In a moment.
So you found some social media, started not swiping away, basically.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the building of my shelf real quick
Okay.
and some of the things that added to it. So the endowment ceremony, like I mentioned earlier, was definitely a big thing. I went through the endowment only 3 times, counting my first one. I went to the Portland Temple, the Provo City Center Temple, and then the Provo Temple before it's getting refurnished right now, I think. So before that, and going through every time they play the video at the beginning or every time they play the video, I fell asleep. Like, it's pretty boring. And I didn't like that aspect of it. But being in the celestial room doesn't feel like, I don't feel joy in there. I don't feel peace. The celestial room is supposed to be like a symbolic earthly version of heaven. Yet I didn't want that to be my heaven. I didn't want the celestial room to be my eternity. It felt so plain in there, so white. I tried to feel peace, but it was just worry almost all the time. Just this dread of, is this what my eternity looks like? And that's why I didn't like the endowment ceremony. But
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. Very common.
uh-huh.
Very few Mormons that I talk to really enjoyed the temple ceremony.
Okay.
So that's
Good to hear I'm not alone.
yeah.
Yeah,
not
but
at
I
all.
also like your thoughts also on this being in the celestial room afterwards, and it's supposed to feel like heaven. And for you, you're having this opposite experience of like, I really hope not. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And another thing that happened while at BYU, and there's this group of friends I had who got together pretty often from Redmond. We got together like once every 2 months or something. But an adult I respected in that group, I overheard her having a conversation once, and what she said was that she felt so sorry about those people with the trial of homosexuality. And that was another thing that was pretty gut-wrenching for me. I had lots of homosexual friends in high school. I try to be loving to everyone. I think the biggest thing with the church that still sticks with me is love for all, and just hearing them have that sense of pride that I'm not gay, I don't have this trial, and then saying it is a trial for those who have it, that did not sit in my stomach well at all.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Also very common. The
Mhm.
LGBT stuff has decimated many a testimony.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you're recognizing you're actually connecting with yourself and recognizing your own feelings where there's like discord
Mhm.
with which is important.
And then additionally, at this point is when I started hearing about on social media, the church's finances, how they have multiple hundreds of billions of dollars. And I'm thinking at that point, like, they don't want me to go on a mission because I'm going to be a financial burden to them. When you have all that money to spare, I have to pay you like what, $40 a month for my what I was making in college. Do you really need that?
You're tithing?
Yeah, tithing. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
you think they could get you the best mental health care possible, and you could serve your mission and just get good support. Right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
like they have enough money to change the world pretty much, but
Yeah.
they just let it sit in stocks and in property.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then in my Book of Mormon class, my professor was Robbie Taggart. He's a phenomenal professor. If anyone's going to BYU, I highly recommend him. Super great guy. We had one day we were talking about the history of African Americans of the church with the skin of darkness scripture. What's the exact? Do you know the exact?
Which one?
Or the first one, second Nephi.
That's a dark laugh.
Oh, okay. The second Nephi one. Yeah.
John's laugh is a dark
Yeah.
laugh.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the actual chapter and verse, but basically it's when the Lamanites get cursed with dark skin.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was a bit of more one of the liberal teachers, I think. And we had a whole day where we just talked about that scripture, talked about what it meant to us, talked about how we interpret it. And basically what everyone thought in that class was that the skin of darkness is just symbolic.
for countenance.
Yes.
Instead of actual pigment.
Yeah. Whereas back in the day, it was actual pigment. Is that right?
1,000%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it still is. It's not ambiguous.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 And another thing I saw on social media was the skin of darkness scripture, but it being interpreted as the actual pigment. And I knew the church's history with the African Americans at this point, the priesthood ban, all of the mistreating with African Americans in the past. And that's another one of the things that did not fit well with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
To the BYU's credit, some professors are being open and honest about the church's history, you know? So I to some degree, I think that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we got to, I believe it's in Helaman, where the Nephites at this point are the quote unquote bad guys, but or the sinners. This is when they're putting their faith on like the vain things of the world, on money. I made the connection there that these Nephites putting everything they have on money, liking money more than God, and just that's why they were cursed and all that, or that's why they were the quote unquote bad guys. But they're just like the church. They're the same way the church is now today. The church values money way more than its members at times. And it's just, I made that connection. And that was another one of the things that I added to my shelf.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Sometimes people start thinking the great and spacious building mentioned in the Book of Mormon that's filled with people with costly apparel. That sounds a lot like the church to some people.
Yeah. It's like that's what temples are sometimes in my head, because they spend like what, $1 million on a chandelier.
Yeah.
They put so much money in these temples, but I feel like, is it in one of the Indiana Jones movies? The at the end there's like all the Holy Grail or the Holy Grails or whatever, right?
Ark of the Covenant or the Holy Grail,
and then like you drink the one that Jesus would have picked or something, and the guy drinks the gold one, he dies, and then I forget. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, but the one Jesus picked was like a wooden one. That's the one the Holy Grail was, like a very old, like splattered or very old, like dilapidated wooden one. That's not what temples are today. Temples are luxurious, expensive. So much money goes into them. It's just completely contradicts what most people believe Jesus to believe in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So some say the Book of Mormon condemns the modern church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So your shelf is heavy. It's getting heavier.
Yeah. Yeah. Next up, I went to my church while at BYU. My ward met in the Crabtree building, which is one of the engineering buildings. One day we had our bishop brought someone in to give like a little lecture about repentance. This guy had been to prison. He committed sexual abuse, like 4 acts of it, was found guilty, went to prison, and this was sexual abuse on a male minor. And he came in and told us about repentance, and he had like been fresh out of prison. There's like a court case. You can find all the details on it. Is showing his name okay, or is that
it's
public information?
Yeah,
there's a Deseret News coverage of it.
Yeah,
his name is Michael Aram Jenkins, but he came in, talked about his life. He had like troubles with homosexuality a lot as a kid. It came into his marriage, but he came in, talked about like repentance and how he found like he's in a good place now, but he's committed like literal crimes, and he's been to prison for some of the things he's done, some of the acts of sexual abuse he's done. But after being out, he talked to us about repentance. And going into this discussion, we knew that it'd be a bit more heavy topic, but we didn't know what happened until looking up his name afterwards. And it just felt like this experience was another level of gaslighting. Like here we have someone who like repented, and it's all good now. But like if you're trans, that's not good. Like they'll let people who have repented, who are like registered sex offenders, they can like go on youth trips and stuff. But if you have a trans person, they can't go on youth trips. And that's a connection I made at that time. And that just, another thing, gut wrenching, did not sit well in my stomach.
So to be clear, he comes in as a speaker.
Yes.
And is he talking about his experience of growing up gay, or is he talking about growing up gay and the sexual abuse? Or are you saying he didn't even talk about the sexual abuse and you found that out later?
He didn't talk about the sexual abuse exactly. He talked about how he had like an internal homosexual struggle, but he masked it throughout his whole life. And he, like, it was something that was a problem in his marriage. And then he talked about if he did like something, that's what he told us. He went to prison.
Oh,
And then the whole point of the lesson was to show
Got
us
it.
repentance afterwards. Like,
got
he
it.
repented of it
He
all.
was forgiven.
It's all good
and
now. Forgiven. I'm
I
a good person now.
see.
That's what it was trying to show us.
I get it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Mhm.
Part of the problem with that is it perpetuates the
Also.
false stereotype that gay people abuse at higher rates.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think that's what the evidence shows.
That's right.
And also, as I understand it, people that have abused children oftentimes repeat. So as far as you know, he's better now, but it's hard to know. So that's just a difficult.
All the way around.
Repentance is a tricky thing when it comes to child abusers, but also you are spot on that the church has 50, 100 years of protecting abusers at the expense of victims.
Mhm.
And that's just a fact. And more importantly, to your point, treating child abusers way better than they treat gay or lesbian or trans members. That's
Yeah.
just a fact.
Mhm.
You get excommunicated for being legally same-sex married. You don't necessarily get excommunicated for being a pedophile in the Mormon church.
Yep.
It's not mandatory. It's discretionary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I saw this and like that didn't fit with my personal beliefs.
Yeah.
Like, sure, it fit with my Mormon beliefs and what I wanted to believe or what I had to believe. But as far as who I was, the beliefs I had, the person I wanted to be, it did not fit at all.
Yeah.
And that's hence the faith crisis there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yep.
So I'd say those were definitely the major points of my faith crisis and the major things that made me start doubting the church in February.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna move on with my
Okay.
journal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So after those points,
Can I say it's hard at BYU?
Oh, yeah.
To be doubting your faith like that
Mhm.
and to know a mission's pending.
Yeah.
When your faith is falling away. That's not easy.
like, I had all these doubts, but I was still trying to be the best Mormon I could.
Yeah.
I knew all these things, but I just still tried to justify that, hey, it'll all work out in the end. It's going to be all right.
But then you have this intense pressure, though, too, of like, I've got to be okay. I've got to be okay
Mhm.
because I have to pass this mission interview I failed last time, the test or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Uh-huh. And then, like, at this point, I'm worrying a little bit more about the mission because I have all these doubts. I like know all these things. The church is doing things wrong or doing some things wrong, but yet I have to preach the church to others.
That's
I have to
right.
bring others onto these beliefs that I don't completely believe in. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was just a rough decision
Mm-hmm.
to lock in on the mission. Yeah. So next up is March 30th of 2024. I hate my life. There's nothing for me here in Utah. I have no purpose. I'm losing my faith in God. I need someone's help. I pray every night, but nothing works. I hate myself.
Dang.
Yeah. April 2nd, 2024. I got my mission call today. After over a year of having to deal with crap from the mission department, I finally received my call. I opened it in the Sacred Grove in the JSB, the Joseph Smith building, and I did an Instagram live in the evening to showcase where I was going. I'm serving in the Oklahoma City mission. It could have been more exciting, but I'll take it. I know I'll find something for me there.
Okay.
My reaction to that was like, that's not where I wanted to go at all. Yet I kind of forced myself into accepting it, forced myself into telling myself things are going to be okay. But a very true but unspoken thing of the church is that stateside missions are less respectable than foreign missions. And I felt like with my academic history, with my achievements, that I'd be worthy to go foreign to have like a really cool experience somewhere outside the US. But getting called to Oklahoma, the Bible Belt, just the middle of the US, that wasn't super exciting for me. It felt like a spit in the face, frankly, with all this work I was doing to get on the mission, just to be called to somewhere where I didn't really want to go. Like, no offense to anyone in Oklahoma, but it wasn't fulfilling for me as a place to spend 2 years of my life. And I feel like Oklahoma, that calling wasn't a calling from God when I got it. One, the mental health, all of that stateside seems like it'd be less of a culture shock. So I'm sure that was some of the reason for sending me there. And then secondly, bit of a digression here. I had, when I was younger, a shellfish allergy. I got tested positive for shellfish, right? And then one time I had shrimp, no reaction. Had crabs, no reaction. But I had never had mollusks. So I just assumed I was allergic to mollusks. On my application, I just put down shellfish. So I think they called me to Oklahoma to keep me away from like oceans or where you'd find seafood. That just felt like a very logical decision and not a spiritual decision.
No, and it's absolutely true that the church historically, if you endorse mental health conditions, you're assigned stateside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for reference, I'm not allergic to mollusks. I tried an oyster and I didn't have a reaction, so I could have been fine anywhere.
Something that is interesting, I think, in the church too, is when you, like culturally, when you get a mission call, to have preferences at all is kind of looked down upon, right? It's like you're a true servant if you're just thrilled, no matter where you're sent, which then it creates again that kind of split self of what you show people, which is like, I'm sure I'm gonna learn and be blessed by the people in whatever area in Idaho, I'm called to Utah, or that showing preferences or like any type of like, this would be actually fun for me is like frowned upon. It's just selfless. You have the less need you have, the less preferences you have. It's like the more righteous you are, which is just interesting.
Yeah, like you're not serving a mission for yourself. You're serving a mission for God. Right. Your whole testimony isn't completely like based on what you want. It's based on what the church wants or what God wants. And I wasn't going on my mission to bless myself. Like, the reason I justified going on my mission was blessing the people that I'd serve. I was told by like one of my bishops that going on my mission would also bless my family. So I went to bless my family. But
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just a couple things. Like I know that senior missionaries are allowed to specify where they want to go, because I have close family members who applied, and yeah, they list like the top 9 places they want to go, and they got one of their top picks. So, I mean, it's totally a bureaucratic, arbitrary decision or cultural artifact to say that senior missionaries get to influence where they get called, but there's the stigma, but 18 to 20-year-old missionaries, it's evil to have a preference to go foreign versus domestic.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's legitimate.
It's
like
2 years of your life.
Yeah, it's
a lot of people they're paying for it.
Yeah. Why can't you say, I want to serve, I want to learn a language while I'm there, I want to do a different culture, or I don't want to go to Arkadelphia, Arkansas. Like I guess in theory that's valid, right?
Yeah.
But in a high demand religion, you're not allowed to be in touch with your own desires, let alone say, I'm less interested in a mission if it's a domestic one.
Yeah.
But I went to Guatemala, which I was, it was hard, but I loved it. My brother went to Sacramento, you know what I mean? And he said he loved it, but I'm glad I didn't go to Sacramento. I can tell you that, anyway.
I think preferences also really break down around the culture of and pressure to go. Because if everyone could just sort of decline and feel okay declining a location where you're like, wow, that does not sound like a great fit, or nope, I'm not really excited, then that's one thing. But I think when you don't when culturally there's this pressure to accept and you're lucky and the more selfless you are and obedient you are, the better. That's where it's, and you're paying for it. And then you put on the other things of like, you're actually paying for it. It's 2 years of your, then it's like, yeah, that people should be able to have some preferences. I'm just noticing in your story, you're having these inner feelings of what you really feel.
Yeah.
And then you have kind of what you're sharing. Yeah.
And sorry, one last thing, like what we're taught is that the Lord chooses our mission calling. What's true is that there's this computer system
That's right.
that has a bunch of, where are there needs for missionaries? Who's applying? How do we take into consideration, all the different factors and then make a decision?
Right.
And they've even built this sort of facade of a system where an apostle will sit down and like oversee the assignments of, missionary candidates to missions. But let's just be clear. It's a computer that's picking, not God.
Right.
And yes, maybe occasionally an apostle will go, I feel like Jimmy should go to Spain instead of, Oklahoma. But there's no evidence that that's God.
That's right.
That could just be like what he had for lunch. You know what I mean? Yeah. So anyway, sorry, we're just trying to connect with
add some context as to the difficult feelings you're feeling in this moment. Yeah,
I appreciate all that.
Yeah.
So next up after the mission call is at the end of that month 4/25/24. It was my last full day in Utah today. I still don't know what I'm doing with my life. I know what makes me happy, but how can I integrate it into my life? How can I work this out? So I was super excited to leave BYU. At the end of the semester, I was just dreading it. It was just kind of a plateau until I could finish up school. And then after that, I was just waiting for my mission. My mission call was for July 15th, so I had a bit of waiting to do. And I get back end of April, so it's like, 3 months? And this period was, I'd say, the point at which I decided not to serve a mission. This is the point at which I decided to do things that didn't align with the church. And some of the things that went into that decision was like all the faith crises things we talked about before. I wasn't seeing a future in the church. I was still at an all-time mental low. And with that, I knew going on the mission would just push me lower because I had things to cope with my mental low. Like I just had TV shows to watch. I'd work out a lot. I worked out a lot because that's just what I use my free time for. And I'd lose those things on the mission. I wouldn't have these things to interact with. I wouldn't have these pop culture things to interact with that made me happy, the things that distracted me from what was going on. I would lose all of my distractions because they don't align with what you can do on your mission. And I feel like if I lost all those things, the mission would have just been horrible for me. I don't think I would have gone home early either because, like I said earlier, I'm a very steadfast person. I don't give up. I don't quit. And yeah.
Is that what you were referring to in your journal writing when you said, I know what makes me happy?
Yes, I know the things that make me happy. And I was worried about losing those things. Like, how can I integrate these things into my life? Because these things, most like normal Mormons don't do all the time. They don't do them as often as I do them.
Right.
And for those who don't know, missionaries can't watch TV. They can't go to the movies. They can't browse the internet, and they certainly can't go work out at the gym. Like maybe they can go jog for 30 minutes once a day with their companion. But there's just so many normal everyday things that Mormon missionaries can't do. So, and I think it's also worth mentioning, being a devout, faithful Mormon was not making you happy.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Like over that year, I went to the movies a lot. I watched a lot of TV shows. I think the reason I did that was because these stories that other people were making, these stories of other people's lives were distracting me from my own life, distracting me from how sad I was, because I could rejoice in like these other stories and these others' lives. And to take that away from me and just focus on my life and focus on what I needed to do to be a good servant for God, just to bring people into a church I didn't believe in, I think that's a good enough reason not to serve your mission. Yeah. Next up is May 18th of 2024. Today, I decided that I'm not going to serve a mission. This was a long time coming, but today I mustered the strength to truly say I'm not going to do it. Instead, I'm going to Eastern Oregon University in the fall. I'm optimistic and hopeful for what is to come.
Wow. What did it feel like to kind of, in that moment, stake a claim on your own life?
Yeah. So during this period between the end of my freshman year in college and between when I was supposed to leave on my mission, all I had was the mission. That's the only thing I had waiting for me. I didn't have school to focus on anymore. I just had like a part-time job and then waiting for the mission.
What's the mission pressure or culture like at BYU as a freshman?
Oh, that's a good question.
Ooh, yeah, that's
It's a really good question. So the question at BYU is not, have you served a mission, or where did you serve, or not have. The question is, where did you serve your mission? And when I told people that, oh, I haven't served my mission yet, they were just like a little, really? And a little taken aback. And
it means there's something wrong.
Yeah. So I had to tell them about my mental health issues. I told a lot of people like, oh, I just had some mental health problems. So
because they're thinking, you're into porn or you had sex, which is, it's a violation of privacy and it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
So then you have to disclose your mental health issues, which is none of their GD business, but you don't want them thinking that you're into porn necessarily, right? Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So it was a very heavy mission culture at BYU.
Yeah.
Like you expect everyone you see to have at least served a mission, or every male you see at least. And then again, lots of females served missions too. I think are females rising in numbers?
Yeah.
That's what
I think there's more women than men now.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like at BYU. Because I mean, most of the male friends I had were like older in their 20s than I, just because they had already served their mission.
Mm-hmm.
Like as a freshman, I was 19. I had lots of, or 18, 19. I had lots of freshman friends who were like early 20s, 22, 23. Yeah. And then like most of the kids my age were girls because they have to wait till they're 19 to serve their mission. Men can serve at 18. So being a man who had not served his mission right out of high school was definitely a weird thing at BYU.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That was it. May was that after you came home that you made that decision? Yeah. So you didn't have to go tell all your BYU friends that you weren't serving your mission.
Yeah. I think most of the ones I have, I don't keep in a lot of contact with them anymore. I have a few of them on Instagram, like social media, and they definitely seen that I didn't go. No one really reaches out to me though, but
you are back home.
Yes.
So you would have your home ward. You would have a time at least elapse where you're seeing the people.
Yeah.
Right.
And they all think I'm going on my mission. When I got home from BYU, I actually gave a talk where I talked about my mission, where I got called. It wasn't like a going away talk. It was just more of a where I am at in life talk. It's kind of a prelude to my mission talk.
Yeah.
But I did give a talk about where I got called, how this past year at BYU has been for me. So everyone in the ward still thinks I'm going. They know I'm called to Oklahoma. Everyone knows that I'm still in the church. I'm still in it. Although at this point, I'm also having this huge faith crisis. Around this time, I also got my first tattoo.
Oh.
Yeah. That was a big thing. I got it right here on my chest.
Because they were allowed by that point?
Well, I mean, I did it without my parents knowing. At this point, my dad was like completely out of the church. He was getting a ton of tattoos. And I didn't see that as like a role model way, but I knew I wanted something to, I don't know, state something that's important to me. I have a row of tattoos right here that are all Rubik's Cubes. I'm really into, it's called speed cubing, but I have like my favorite events on my torso area. But yeah.
What's your fastest time?
For a normal 3x3 is 7.4 seconds. Yeah.
Wow.
This is totally random, but Brooklyn's brother has like the world's record for creating the most multi-dimensional Rubik's Cube.
That's huge. I went to the World Championship in Seattle earlier this year, and that cube was there, and that guy was there, and I talked to him.
Oh, yeah.
Was like,
Preston Alden is his name. That's Brooklyn's brother.
49 by 49, is that right?
She'll tell us in the chat. But
no, that's crazy. I saw him a few months ago.
He's from Utah. He went to Utah State, and he studied mechanical engineering.
I noticed he was Mormon.
Yeah.
There's something about Utah.
I don't know that I'd say he's
not Mormon. I saw like, it was... they had the world record plaque there, and it said it was like done in Utah.
Yeah.
So
yes,
I assumed they were Mormon.
Yeah, that's Preston.
That's really cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
little
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask you again, like, so when you
Wait, but you said you solved a Rubik's Cube in 10 seconds?
7.
7 seconds.
Seven.
That's amazing. Okay. Sorry,
Faster.
Margie. I just didn't want to
Faster.
gloss over that. Talking
Uh-huh.
about Preston.
We
Okay.
and we should
7 seconds. Okay, go ahead.
we should not gloss over that.
Okay.
But okay, so back to your journal entry.
Yes.
So in that moment that you have said it, you've written it and you are now acknowledging it to yourself. I'm not going to go. And I have a different plan. I'm not also going back to BYU. This is like a declaration of, oh, I'm going off plan
Mm-hmm.
now. So do you remember what that felt like?
Yeah. So prior to this date, I was still like very on the fence about going or not going. So much to the point where I was researching other colleges I could go to for my following year because I knew I didn't want to go back to BYU.
Yeah.
So I was super into track and field at this time. I was trying to get on the BYU team, and I was like good, but not good enough to get on it. But so I typed in literally on Google track schools, Oregon, and Eastern Oregon University came up. I had some coaches in high school who were from there. So I reached out to their coach, and they said I could come on the team. And with that, I knew I had an option to go to Eastern Oregon University. So that was my second plan to not going on the mission. Since I had that plan, I was telling my mom about the possibility. And then that's when she asked me, wait, so are you going on your mission anymore? And then it was in that moment when she asked me where I kind of said, you know what? No, I'm not going anymore. And this kind of shocked her. The tattoo shocked her. But they're both things I did. She saw me do them, but she saw that they made me happier and she was all right with them. And at this point, she's like a single mother in the church. Her ex-husband is out of the church. She's seeing her 2 younger sons having a rough time in the church. So she's still in the church, but she's not in it for the doctrine. She's more in it for the community, in it for the people, in it for the connections. So this is the beginning of her own faith crisis.
It is brutal to be a divorced single mom in the Mormon church.
Yeah, the church is not built for it's not built for people for that matter. It's built for like perfect families, I feel like.
And then outside of Utah, if you're trying to find a new Mormon husband to marry in freaking Oregon,
It'll be like she had like 2 options.
Yeah.
Right.
None of which really fit her what she needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So did you in this moment or in the weeks to come, what did this do for your joy factor, purpose, and your anxiety?
Yeah.
So the mission at this point was still this huge dread, but declaring that I wasn't going to go, my life opened to like infinite possibilities. I didn't have to go on the mission. I didn't have to be Mormon. I could do whatever I wanted with my life. I didn't have to get a Mormon wife. I can do whatever I want. I don't need a waste. It felt like a waste at that point. Waste 2 years of my life on
in
a mission.
Oklahoma. No
Yes.
offense to Oklahoma.
Yeah. But I just had so much opportunity open up to me. And it felt like just a whole new life pretty much.
A whole new world,
Yes.
to quote Disney.
Yeah. At this point, I'm still in the church kind of. And after I declare that I'm not going on my mission to my mom, the next day I call the mission department. I ring them up on the phone. I say, hi, this is Benson Lawson. I have a mission call for Oklahoma. And they're like, oh, yes, we have your file. And then I'm like, yes, I'd like to redact that. I'm not going on my mission anymore. And then the lady who called me or who was on the other line from like the nice classic Mormon voice, went way stern. She was like, well, you need to talk to your stake president about that. And then it was hang up.
She hung up?
Yeah.
What?
It was insane.
That is so rude.
Mm-hmm.
I would not expect that.
Yeah, it was just horrible
Authority.
customer service.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk to my stake president. I did.
But that's rare probably for them to receive a call like that.
Oh yeah. Very rare.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my stake president at the time, he's since been replaced with another one, but I'd say he definitely taught faith with fear more so than faith with love. Going into this conversation I had with him, I had respected him. I trusted him. We worked together a lot. He respected me. But after this conversation I had with him, my opinion about him completely changed. So we met one evening, and he's a very gregarious person. He talks a lot. He loves talking and hearing the sound of his own voice sometimes, I feel like. And he just talks a lot. There are lots of times when I talked about one of my worries, and he talked back with just a long, like 10-minute answer about, here's the reason why. But in this meeting, rather than feeling loved and being taken in with love, like, oh, it's all right, you're not going on your mission, it was this attack the whole time. It was like a 2-hour discussion of like, well, this is the end of your life pretty much. You're going down a dangerous and dark path. I've seen others go down this path and their life led to ruin. Something he said to me is that the life you're going down does not lead to happiness. And I have a bunch of quotes he said. Yeah, there's that one. And then one of them was, being a black sheep does not make you special. And when I heard that one, like, I think Mormons are black sheep more so than the rest of the world. Because I felt like I was actually leaving the flock of black sheep and joining just the rest of the world with leaving the church and deciding not to go on a mission. But yeah, he basically told me I'm not special. Another thing he said was, my life struggled with polygamy, but she learned to cope with it.
His wife.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his wife's a very nice lady. But basically what I talked to him about was all the, I told him I'm not going on my mission. I talked about all my worries that we outlined earlier. And he responded with like the answers of just have faith, and you need to do this or else your life is going to end in ruin. You won't find celestial happiness. Yeah.
Keep going. Those quotes, there's a couple more.
Yeah. Another thing he said was that you can lie about your worthiness and still go to the temple. That was something that really took me aback. And just thinking about it, like, my dad did that a lot. My dad didn't drink coffee, or my dad drank coffee. And my dad was drinking beer and stuff during my family's marriage, but he was lying on his temple recommended interviews and still going to the temple just to keep his family intact at the time. And like I was talking about, one of the big things about this meeting was that I do not sustain the prophet. The prophet is an imperfect man. The word of wisdom is imperfect. Something about the word of wisdom that really bothered me was that it says no coffee, right? But it doesn't say no soda, no caffeine. Whereas like coffee is compared to soda, coffee is healthy for you. Like soda is pretty bad for you, and coffee, like, it doesn't have any known detriments. So the word of wisdom is supposed to be a law of health. And it does not, the word of wisdom as a law of health does not act as a law of health, because it is denying coffee while it doesn't deny soda and things that are objectively unhealthy for you. And with that flaw, I said I don't sustain the prophet. Because if he were truly leading us righteously, he would note this flaw and fix it and make it so the word of wisdom actually leads us. And
technically, the word of wisdom condemns hot drinks. And
is that what it states exactly? Or?
It says hot drinks. And
okay.
so that's been interpreted to mean coffee. But then in a modern era, what if it's an iced, latte, and is hot chocolate bad? Like, but
I mean, at this point, it's just coffee. Like,
yeah.
And I believe it was caffeine for a while, and then they invested in Coca-Cola or something, and that went away. Is that right?
I mean, the church has invested in Pepsi, I think, and Coke for a long time in its investment portfolio. But caffeinated soda was forbidden at BYU, Provo, and BYU, Idaho for 50, 100 years. I don't know, 50 years at least, until recently. And it was a huge deal when the BYUs let in caffeinated soda. So it's an example of the silliness of the evolution. But when I was growing up, there were entire families that would boast with pride that none of them had ever tried a Coke or a Pepsi. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now nobody cares.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it is kind of ridiculous. The word of wisdom has some good things in it, but it's also kind of ridiculous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. Like the drugs, the alcohol, it's like things I can get behind. But soda, not having coffee, but being able to have soda just doesn't make sense. Yeah.
I mean, the word of wisdom doesn't say anything about drugs.
Does it not?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not Joseph Smith's version.
Okay.
In fact, it says herbs of the field are good, and some interpret that to mean marijuana is okay. So,
Oh,
and actually, the word of wisdom allows mild drinks of barley, which meant beer at the time. So the word of wisdom allows beer and wine. What it doesn't allow are like liquor, hard
Whiskey
spirit, whiskey,
or brandy.
So, I mean, we don't even, it's such a cluster thing, So anyway.
yeah. My English class at BYU, I think it was like second term, I had a paper about coffee versus soda and like caffeinated drinks and all that. And basically it was like an argumentative essay. And my conclusion was that the word of wisdom is not doing its job and it needs to be refurnished.
Yeah.
It needs to be fixed.
We're totally off topic, but like
We are. Where were we?
The word of wisdom says only eat meat in times of winter or famine, and Mormons eat meat all summer long.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Love their barbecue. So we don't even totally pay attention to it, but we digress. So,
Yes.
Okay, keep going. Other quotes from your stake president.
Yeah, there was one more.
Was he saying what didn't mind if you lied?
Oh, he said
about your worthiness? What?
Like he could ask these questions and I could say, I could lie about it and still get into the temple.
Why would a stake president suggest it was okay to lie in your temple recommend interview?
I guess just people's lives are so different sometimes. And like I said, Redmond is a little bit more of a progressive Mormon area. So I think he was just doing this so I could do all of the right Mormon things, but maybe I have these other factors in my life. So I think
he
was just
wanted you to go to the temple.
Yes, I think he wanted me to stay in the church, but he wanted me to just lie so I could stay in the church because he knows these things about me, these things I'm doing wrong, and he just wants me to lie about doing them wrong. He wants me to build up a cognitive dissonance in my mind so I can still be a good Mormon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think stake presidents are evaluated by how many young men and young women they send on missions. So he would have had an incentive for you to go.
Oh, yeah.
On a mission.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then, despite saying that I can lie on my temple recommend, he said next that I don't think you should be worthy for your temple recommend anymore because I don't sustain the prophet.
Valid. That's valid.
Yeah. He didn't take it away in that meeting, but immediately after that, I went home and talked to my mom about it. My mom and the stake president have had beef in the past. So, yeah, she got really mad at him.
For which part?
Just all of it. Everything he said to me. How he treated me with harshly instead of love. How he tried to take my temple recommend away. My mom's a very kind of get what she wants kind of person in the church. She always goes to the bishops, goes to the stake presidents. She would always go to our bishop about the conversations he'd have with like minors about like masturbation, stuff like that. And it was really funny because my bishop, he's a bit younger, and when he gets uncomfortable, he has a really big stutter. And when she'd talk about masturbation to him, he'd stutter a lot. But yeah, she reached out to her brother-in-law. Her brother-in-law has some connection with the area authority of the 70 in the Pacific Northwest area. And that guy got pretty upset with our stake president. And recently he got replaced with a new guy. But
possibly earlier than he would have?
I'm not sure, but
okay.
Nonetheless, he got in trouble for the things or the way he treated me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I never got an apology, but I feel like an apology after that discussion would have done something for the Mormon church in my eyes. But since he never apologized, it just kind of, in my mind, locked in the idea of the Mormon church isn't the best thing. The Mormon church isn't good. The Mormon church isn't perfect for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Before you talk about like the fork in the road that you take after that stake president interview, you mentioned in your list of shelf items, D&C 88-118, Seek Learning by Studying Faith, and Renland, and a talk Renland gave.
Okay.
Did you tell us about, because I would love to hear that if you want to share.
So DC 88-118, Seek Learning by Studying Faith, I took that pretty literally, and I was seeking the truth by seeking out sources. I talked to a BYU professor about all the questions I had. He gave me a very roundabout answer. I had all these questions about faith, like LGBTQ people, money in the church. The way he answered them was he drew like a target, like a bunch of circles. He said in the middle circle is like the core doctrine, and the outer circles are your questions. these minute problems in the church. He said, like, despite these minute differences, you need to focus on the things in the middle, the things that really matter, the core doctrine, the Christ-like attributes. That's how BYU professors, I feel like they're all given this way to approach questions. But yeah, the answer there was just focus on the Christ-like attributes and have faith. That's how you can get through your trial. Another person I reached out to was my dad. He had been out of the church for a couple years by now. And with this, he gave me a discussion about like all the problems with the church. Rather than rebuting my faith crises questions, he kind of affirmed them for the first time with these questions. He gave me answers like, oh yeah, I agree with this. And then he actually directed me towards the CES letter. And yeah, after reading that, Sorry?
Your dad did?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he knew about the CES.
Oh yeah, my dad was out of the church by this point.
But not everyone who leaves the church knows about the CES.
Oh yeah,
letter.
okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but he directed me towards that, and reading through that, just seeing everything affirmed all my beliefs against the church. It showed me that the church has damaged people. It's not just my life that's damaged, but it's damaged hundreds of thousands even, lots of people. And my mental health crisis is just a person in a crowd of lots of crises, faith crises, things that are happening to people. I'm just another person the church has hurt. So I'm not just that, but I'm another person the church has hurt. So I'm not alone in this. There are people out there who can help me, people out there who know what it's like, people out there I can turn to.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
And then I talked to some other adults in the church, like adults. I have a high school teacher who's not my dad at the high school I went to. He was Mormon, but he like swears a lot in classes. So I assumed that he was like a cooler Mormon. I talked to him about why he stays in the church, and he stays in like just for the community, just to, have people. He like tries to do all the beliefs for his family. He likes the foundation it sets, but frankly, that wasn't enough for me, because although I'd have a community, although I'd have a good system of beliefs, a good place to raise children, it was very damaging to my mental health to be there. And I didn't want to live a life being a Mormon.
Just because I really like some of these bullets. Did you mention what it was about Dale Renlund's talk?
Oh, not yet. Sorry.
Was important
This
to you?
goes with DC 88118. He has a talk that's called
Observation, Faith, Reason, and Revelation.
Yeah. I had to like analyze that talk for it was like an exercise science class at BYU. We were learning about the scientific method. And basically the crux of that talk is just to get to faith and to get to knowledge, you have to use observation and reason as well. And I believe like I probably interpreted it the way they didn't want me to interpret it, but I started using outside sources of the church. Yeah, I started getting in all the information. I started affirming my beliefs with other things other than the church. This is the point where rather than using church-only sources, I was looking to other things, looking to things beyond the church. Yeah.
And so you wrote Happiness in Heaven and Korihor's Death.
Oh yeah, that was a Book of Mormon paper I wrote. Or there's two papers I wrote. It was called our I don't recall what it was called, but we had like our question paper, our spiritual question paper. And with these two papers, the Happiness in Heaven one, I had a question that was, how can we be happy in heaven if we aren't sad all the time? Because something that I like believe is that you can't be happy unless you're sad too.
Book
You
of
can't have
Mormon teaches
highs
that.
if you don't have lows.
Yeah.
And in heaven, we're told like we live a life of eternal joy. Wouldn't a life of eternal joy just be boring?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't a pure, joyful eternity be equivalent to hell?
Valid.
Like, so I had that question. The answer I had there was just have faith in the end. That was the answer to my paper. And then Korihor's death is like, why did Korihor have to die? If you don't know, Korihor was like the equivalent of like a philosopher during Book of Mormon times. And he was killed for having these beliefs outside of the church, outside of was it one of the Nephi's or Alma? I forget, but maybe was it Helaman? I don't know.
He's questioning whether God exists,
Yes.
whether you need a savior, whether you need a church.
He was coming to the church with a very philosophical line of thought. He was using logic. He was basically what I was at the time. He was just someone who didn't fully believe, and rather than like treating him with love in the Book of Mormon, he just straight up died. Like,
Was
What
he-
happens to you?
Was he the one that died in ignominious death, or was that a different
I think it was him.
apostate?
I'm pretty sure.
One of the apostates in the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
Just
they're
gets
killing
like run
apostates.
over by like oxen or something, like
Like,
stampede. Like
I feel
God
like-
just tramples him with animals.
I
for
think it was
being,
Korhor.
okay.
But I feel like killing apostates is something that didn't resonate with me because we need to treat everyone with love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7.
That is a scripture I really love. And it just talks about the definition of love, what it is, everything about it. And the church, the way they treat others, the way they treat homosexual people, the history with African Americans does not at all align with that verse.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Thank you for
That's just more some more shelf stuff right there.
Yeah. And I love all that stuff. So thanks for being willing to talk about that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, wait,
go
can
ahead.
I go
Yeah.
back to that moment in time where you decided and you staked your claim in your own life?
Mhm.
I just want to go so do you remember in the summer, because I'm thinking this entry you just
This was
read
last year, a year
was
ago.
May, right?
Yeah, just last year.
Again, like did you notice your sense of purpose, what it did to your sense of purpose to kind of say, I'm gonna go to Oregon. I'm not going back to BYU,
Yeah.
and I'm not going on a mission. What it did to your level of anxiety and this feeling of purpose.
So with my mission being my purpose, like I mentioned earlier, that was just a purpose I did not want to have. It wasn't something I wanted to have, or it wasn't something I wanted to have, but it made me super sad, super depressed, having to believe in that, having that to be my purpose. But taking that away, I'm able to go to Eastern Oregon University now. My purpose can again be school. I got accepted on the track team there. I was a hurdler, 400 hurdles,
Oof.
Yeah.
Wow.
rough event, but
Mm-hmm.
that was my purpose now. I was a hurdler for a track team, and it was just a fun time.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And
Yeah.
how about the anxiety component?
Oh, yeah.
Did it affect or dread? I don't.
I didn't have any looming dread after that because I didn't have a mission to go on. So
Mhm.
I had truly no more worries about what the church would do to me. I was still at this point hanging out in the church. I had a calling where I was the one in charge of like the pamphlets or the brochures that you get for sacrament meeting.
Oh, right.
Yeah. After I didn't go on the mission, I was still attending church. Just this weird kind of phase, but
Okay.
the bishop gave me that calling just so I could have some purpose in the church.
Uh-huh.
But what I'd do is I'd make these pamphlets or these brochures, and I'd go to church, just hang out for the first hour, and then leave. I'd just go to church to get my calling done.
I see.
But I didn't like going to church at all. Like it was almost like a comedy show sometimes. I'd go listen to like testimonies and stuff, listen to talks, and I just like, I know that's not true. I know that's not true. It's just going to church with all the information is a different experience. It's almost less boring sometimes, but after I left the church, I definitely left the church when I moved to Eastern Oregon University, which is in La Grande, Oregon, pretty small town. That's what at the point I definitely left. But after I left, the church almost seemed a lot more interesting than it was before. Because up until that point, I had been learning about the church my whole life, but it was the same teachings, the same things I'm always learning. It was just relearning things over and over again,
Right.
regurgitated information. It was just boring. But after I left the church, there's all this new information. There's the Mormon Stories podcast. There's all these new things I can look at, all these new stories I can listen to, all this weird information about church history that I didn't know about before. It became this thing to study that was actually interesting because it wasn't regurgitated information.
Yeah. Yeah. And I imagine that felt, I don't know, how did that feel to be able to find those types of resources?
Quite refreshing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I cared about studying the church history at this point because I was looking at it just freely rather than through the lens of the Mormon church. Yeah.
Right. Their narrative or their version that you just kind of go over and over.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad you were able to find resources to help.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you mentioned, I love what you wrote in your outline. Basically, you write, this is the point where, do you want to, that's right before resolution stories. Do you want to, I make the points that you were making right after your talk with your stake president. You talk about kind of this fork in the road.
Oh, yeah. So,
because I'll just say this, that the mark of a high demand religion, in my perspective, or an unhealthy religion, is they're constantly getting you to deny what's inside, to deny what makes you happy, to deny what you think is real or true or soulful or your purpose or meaning. And instead, they're trying to tell you how to feel, how to think, what to do, who to be, and what your purpose is. And for some people, that might work great. And they really do well being and doing what the church tells them. So in that sense, there's this term I learned that a cult works great until it doesn't. And for some people, it works until they die, I guess, in theory. There's for other people, that same path is toxic and it can lead to not wanting to live anymore. And so, so you were clearly suffering under the church's plan for you, being as faithful as you could be all the way through BYU and getting your mission call, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what you decided to do wasn't to keep packing it down, to keep trying to find happiness within the church's plan for you. You decided that you were going to finally start listening to you and doing what you felt like made you happy. Yeah. So I think that's the secret to happiness for almost everybody, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally, to me, it feels like you, in that moment, saved yourself.
Yeah, it's a really good way to put it. Like throughout my whole senior year and up until the mission or up until that final conversation, I had many conversations with like my bishops and the stake president. Like I had these doubts like, ooh, this mission thing's kind of big, but he's like, don't worry, you'll be all right. You can do it. I remember I had one conversation with my bishop where I was talking about having these little doubts about my mission. And he told me about his son who had gone on a mission. And he was like, he didn't want to go at all, but then he went and he had a great time, got back. He's super happy now. And rather than them telling me to make my own choice, it was like, you can make your own choice, but here's a bunch of reasons to go on top of it. So it was very biased towards going on the mission. And every time I had these conversations with my church leaders, I always stayed steadfast with the mission. But it wasn't until this final conversation with my stake president where I had all these doubts. I was super depressed. My life was at an all-time low. Where, like, if I had gone on the mission, if I had stayed steadfast with the church after that meeting, I don't even know what would have happened to me. It would have just been a very poor decision. It wouldn't have been the best thing for my life at all. I knew at that point the right decision was to not go on the mission in order to be happy, in order to find the purpose that I believe in.
And I've had many people sit in that chair and tell me they went on the mission anyway. And some of them have said they no longer wanted to live.
Yeah, I definitely
they went on the
worry
mission.
about that's where I could have gone had I gone.
Yeah, like I'm walking across a bridge and I start looking over the bridge. That I've had interviewees, and I think, to the church's credit, part of why they were maybe even delayed your mission call is because I don't think the church feels like it benefits from having suicidal missionaries. So they were probably trying to keep you from becoming a suicidal missionary, which I guess in some sense was good. Even though you were annoyed by the church delaying your mission call, it was probably good for you.
It was definitely a good thing. It's just that they put so much emphasis on the mission. They just like can't go.
That's right. And the judgment around if you are delayed or if you
can't not go. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, they say it again. They put so much emphasis.
Put so much emphasis on the mission that you just can't not go.
As a faithful,
despite mental health, despite all the issues you have, you still just can't not go. because if you don't go, you get judged, you get shamed. It's just such a big thing within the church that no matter how hard your life is, no matter what you're dealing with, you still need to go to be a good Mormon, to get a good Mormon husband or wife. It's just, I think, one of the things that's very imperfect with the modern Mormon church.
To have your parents be proud of you, to have your ward members be proud of you, just to feel good about yourself in that framework, right? Because the rest of your life, you're going to tell people when they say, where'd you serve your mission? If you don't serve a mission, what are you going to have to say to everyone who asks you? That's a common Mormon question. Yeah. You meet someone, hey, where'd you serve your mission? Right? Well, if to say, oh, I didn't, they're like, oh.
Well, didn't President Nelson not serve a mission?
Neither did President Oaks or Eyring. None of the current first presidency has served a mission, and yet our modern Mormon culture, and to the church's credit again, more than ever, they're trying to reduce the stigma of early mission return or of not serving a mission. Because believe it or not, as terrible as it was for you, way worse 30 or 40 or 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So the church is trying to give the church credit. They're trying to make progress, but that's after generations of depression and anxiety and even suicide. Yeah. So, I mean, they were kind of like all the changes for the church, they were kind of forced to make those changes. But even as much changes as they've made, as of a year ago, you were in this situation.
Yeah. So I feel like they're going in the right direction, and maybe with honestly a few decades they'll be there. But where, as it stands, the church is not doing the right thing to help its missionaries, to help mental health in the church. It's still a very hard life to live. Yeah. If you don't want that life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not hard. And what someone's going to say, like my Mormon brain was going, oh, well, you didn't want to serve in Oklahoma. Well, that's pride. You know what I mean? Or
that's why I brought that up earlier.
I know. Yeah. No, I'm just saying. And also, well, you just, the celestial kingdom, you have to really earn it. And some people don't want to face all the challenges, that get you to exaltation. So you don't serve a mission because you kind of weren't strong enough or weren't committed enough. That's how a Mormon might interpret that decision.
Yeah,
right.
But if I do face all those challenges, then I bet the suicide risk for me would have been way up there.
1,000%. Yeah, and that's what the church knows now, because they've got so many missionaries coming home. By the way, a lot of the missionaries that come home early come home because they don't believe anymore, but the church labels it as depression.
Isn't like 40% of missionaries leave the church now after they come home? Was that right?
I mean, I've heard crazy numbers between 40 and 60%.
That's insane.
Yeah, are leaving the church within a year or two of coming home. But again, the church, you only hear those statistics from like people who attend private meetings and training meetings, but the church won't release the numbers. But we know it's super high numbers of Mormon missionaries have anxiety and depression on their missions, come home early from their missions, and leave the church within 2 years of coming home from their missions. The numbers are extraordinarily high.
As far as church membership goes, is it decreasing or increasing right now? Because I've heard different things.
So in Africa, it's growing like gangbusters, but that's because they don't have access to the internet and because they're so poor that the Mormon church is probably good for them. In the United States, the only thing keeping the Mormon church from shrinking in terms of active membership is the birth rate. Oh, wow. There's still like a decent sized birth rate amongst faithful believing Mormons in the US. And that very tiny birth rate is enough to offset all the people leaving. But by all accounts, the Mormon church is growing at less than 1% in the United States, which is its slowest growth rate ever. And, just here in Utah, there are stakes and wards and Mormon chapels being closed all the time. Oh, wow. So if the church is in massive decline here in Salt Lake County and in many surrounding, just think about what it's like in Oklahoma, or Arkansas or Oregon, California, the church is in decline, full stop. And then, in Europe, in Western Europe, the church is in free fall. Like it's shrinking, hemorrhaging, so what the church does is it expands in the Philippines and Latin America and Africa to offset all the places in the developed world where it's in free fall. That's my, if you believers, listeners don't agree with that, show me the numbers. You know what I mean? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to get us off track.
I think one thing you bring up, John, that's interesting when you talk about, members would say, whatever, he wasn't willing to do it's like, well, the members will always, give a representation of this sense of use. Like the church is not necessarily created for the members' happiness and fulfillment, right? It's about more of it getting what it wants from its members. So for me, it almost doesn't even make sense to say that, because really what this, to me, symbolically, your journey in this moment was like you put, and I meant when I said it, like you put a stake, you claimed your own life. It was like, yep, I get it. You might have a lot of plans for me. You have a lot of feelings about, my salvation if I don't do what you say, or your formula. And at this point, I'm going to save myself, and I'm claiming my life for me. And I have a sense for what will make me happy, and we'll see. Like, we'll see but I'm willing to take the risk. And I'm actually going to drive my own car for my life, right? As opposed to, and that I just feel like is worth noting.
Yeah. At this point, like I had been trying in the church on my own for like over a year now. I've been trying to be happy in the church, but it just wasn't working. I had tried everything. I had trusted in God for so long. I had prayed for happiness for so long, but it just did not work. I knew that if I did literally anything else, I'd be happy. And all I wanted, honestly, was happiness. While in the church, the motivation I had to stay in the church was the promise of eternal joy. But when I had that one question of, are we really going to have eternal joy in heaven? That promise, that incentive kind of just got washed out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
So, so how, you've already alluded to this, but talk about how your mental health and happiness and purpose and fulfillment and your love life and your education has all progressed since making that very important decision. I have to say one last thing.
Okay.
I had this aha moment once, because when I was a missionary, there were like slacker missionaries. Mm-hmm. And those of us who were good missionaries always looked down on the slacker missionaries. And the people we really looked down on were the people that didn't go on missionaries. After I had my faith crisis and realized all the problems with the church, I thought to myself, what if the ones that didn't go on missions, or the ones who hated their missions and weren't great missionaries, just figured out that the church wasn't what it claimed to be 10 or 20 years before I did.
Yeah.
And that's why they chose not to go, or that's why they hated their mission and were slackers. And it turned on its head the stigmas that I had, realizing that some of the people that don't go on missions or hate their missions and don't excel are just smarter or figure it out earlier.
Yeah.
I just had to say that.
That's a good note.
You like that?
Yeah.
You like that reframe?
Sure. Yeah. Prior to leaving to Eastern Oregon University, when I was still in Redmond at home for that summer, and when I didn't go on my mission, I had to tell everyone in my ward that I wasn't going on my mission. I had to tell all my church friends, and I lost lots of friendships. I lost a lot of respect from everyone. There was one of my seminary teachers asked me about my mission. I told him I wasn't going. And then this is like the one person who I am grateful for in the church who I talked to about my mission. But rather than rebuking me, they told me to come to seminary and share my story, which I think was huge. But they brought me in with two of my seminary friends from when I was in seminary. But in front of like the current seminary class at that time, the other two talked. They talked about where they were going, where they got called. And then I was up at the end. And I'm like, well, I'm not going anymore. And I didn't really get an applause or anything. I didn't get anything grandiose. After I kind of stated that, my two friends didn't talk to me anymore that day. I haven't talked to them since. I've had lots of friends in the church just not talk to me after I decided not to go. I told one that I'm not going, and he's told me, well, Benson, why would you do that? Like, obviously super disappointed me. I had one return missionary talk to me, and well, we were having an activity. It was like rope swinging or something, and naturally I was like shirtless to go swimming, and my tattoo was visible. And we were like buzzed up until that point. He had just returned from his mission, and he was trying to coerce me into going still. But then he saw my tattoo and he got real quiet. Like, just that one little thing made him realize I'm out, I'm done. And that's just another friendship I lost. When I talk to people in the church and tell them I left, it's like, oh, that's nice. Or that's good that you made that decision for yourself. But behind their voice, I can just see the judgment. I can see the disappointment. And it's just really hurting to talk to these people that were once my friends, people that once respected me, people who I had bonds with, and they just don't respect me anymore. We're not friends anymore. They're connections I lost. And this was a very hard time where just kind of everything in the church broke down, and the church turned at this point from a place where I felt love and community to a place where I felt just judgment. I go and I felt judged. I felt eyes on me all the time. I felt like everyone was just looking at me, judging me, being disappointed in me, because I was, like mentioned way earlier, I was the Peter priesthood. I was the role model for everyone. I wanted to be the role models for my brothers. And after not choosing to go on my mission, it all broke down. And I felt like all the disappointment, all the shame, all the guilt I worried so much about, I accepted it all because I knew that would be better than being depressed, better than hating my life.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you made that decision.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it was courageous. It was insightful. And ultimately, it was just really good for you.
Oh, yeah.
That makes me so happy for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can I ask, are we at the point where you would share a couple things about when you went to Oregon and your experience at school
Rebuilding.
there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we
Is there-
at that, or is there anything left to
Yeah.
say?
Is there joy or happiness after deciding not to serve a mission?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So prior to going to Eastern Oregon University, at this point I was on the track team, so I was doing like the track workouts on my own in Redmond.
Yeah.
But a week before I left for LeGrand, which is where Eastern Oregon University is. It's a small university, only like 4,000 people. That's one of Oregon's rural universities. It's an NAIA school, which is like lower than D3, but it's really small community. But prior to going, about a week before, I reconvened with a friend from middle school. We were both in the band. We both played French horn. We were at opposing schools throughout middle school and high school. And we hit it off really well. We started dating. Her name's Kaylee. And we're still together. And
she's in the room.
She is in the room.
She's waving to me right now.
In this very room.
In this very room.
Yeah, we hit it off super well. And she is the least Mormon person you'll ever meet. Both of her parents are like hardcore atheists. She has a lot of tattoos, lots of piercings, colored hair. And I felt like just this life and all this color and all this uniqueness she had was just what I needed in a relationship. Because the Mormon mold of like a perfect girl who's just like me wasn't what I wanted. I wanted someone who's unique. I wanted someone to put color into my black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like that's what she did for me. And here's the bitter part of all this sweetness. We met like a week before I left for LeGrand. So over that school year, we had to do long distance. But it worked out. So yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And in LeGrand, I was super happy the whole time. It was a really good experience being on the track team. Because it was a small university, I made a lot of good friends. Something about it though, I tested out the Mormon church there. Just went to see what it was like. I checked out the YSA, and there was it was during fast and testimony meeting. Someone said that they can't imagine their life without the Mormon church. And just hearing that just kind of reaffirmed that belief I had that I don't need the Mormon church. I have other purpose now. I have my girlfriend. I have the track team I'm on. I have purpose beyond the church that is enough for me. That's more than enough for me, honestly. And I don't need the church for my purpose. And that was like the last official church meeting I went to as a member, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
And from that point, I spent my Sundays doing other things, like actually resting. Because they say Sunday is a day of rest, but is it really a day of rest for like stake presidents or bishops? They're spending all day at church, they're spending all day in meetings. You wake up like what? Some people like 8 a.m. so you can get to your 9 o'clock church. Sunday is not a day of rest for Mormons, having been a Mormon for 18, 19 years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice using Sunday as a day of rest now.
Do you have a sense for a purpose now?
Oh, yeah.
How would you describe that?
So like I mentioned, my girlfriend, and while in Eastern Oregon University, it was track, and I'm actually transferring out of Eastern Oregon University, third school now, Oregon State University, so I don't have to do long distance with my girlfriend anymore. But transferring's been rough, but my sense of purpose is definitely working towards a career, being with my girlfriend, and that's enough for me.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
How's your relationship with your dad?
My dad, it's really good.
He had left the church. Did
Yes.
that put a strain between you?
It was kind of just like I didn't respect him for a while at all because he left the church. I worried about him a lot, but after I left, we had this thing in common. And his birthday last year, I actually bought him like a voucher for a tattoo, and he got like a bunch of alcohol for his birthday. So it felt this crazy juxtaposition between his old life and his new one. But yeah, my relationship with my dad is good now because we have that in common, the ex-Mormon title.
And you mentioned you no longer look down on him. That
No,
helps.
not at all.
Yeah.
And I feel really bad for looking down on him at one point.
You came by that, honestly. And then your mom in the church and your path.
So my mom's story is a whole nother story. She could probably honestly
just a little bit.
Yeah, she could come on here herself, honestly, if she wanted to. But
in terms of your relationship with her, I
yes,
guess.
it's good. At this point, she's definitely on the fence herself. But like mentioned earlier, she just wants me to be happy. And no matter, like I told her I was coming on this podcast, she was super happy for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Is she a listener? Or?
I don't think she listens like avidly, but she knows about it. She knew who you two were.
Okay.
And she has a good little community in the church. They call themselves the hippos. I don't know why, but yeah, they were all super excited for me going. Like they're all
so active Mormons.
Yes,
we're excited
in Redmond.
In Oregon, we're excited that you were going on Mormon Stories podcast. I love this story.
Yeah, like they're super supportive with me talking about my experience because they all know, like these people know, my experience wasn't great. I got hurt. I got really hurt, and they're really excited for me talking about it. And most of these people stay in the church for the community, for the family, for the good beliefs, but they're the kind of more so pick and choose Mormons, the ones who stay in the church just for the good aspects of it. Yeah. And they're ones like kind of actively fight against the things that are bad, like bishops talking to underage people about their sexual life and stuff like that.
Yeah. And you say your mom's had some dating success in your outline.
So from the time my mom, my dad broke up, she was alone for a while, and I really worried about her. She had like our dogs, and I felt like that was it sometimes. I was really worried about her.
And she went out with both the Mormons in her area. And
the two options.
I'm kidding, but there was not a lot of dating options in the church.
No, not at all. And with me leaving the church, I really worried that she felt like a failure because I was a failure. I worried that she felt like she raised me wrong, that she did something wrong, because there's definitely a sense of guilt that can be present in the parents of children who chose or chose not to go on a mission. And with my two brothers having split custody, both of them are pretty inactive, honestly, because they're with my dad most Sundays, who doesn't go to church ever. So I was worried that she had guilt there too about them not attending church. And yeah, point being, I worried about her a lot. And then very recently, she met a guy from her work, a 5th grade teacher at her work. And
never LDS.
I think he was raised Catholic, I believe. But they hang out a lot. And I was talking to her the other night, and something she told me is that the sense of comfort, the sense of well-being that she was looking for in the church, that she missed in her marriage, she hadn't had this the past 2 years since the divorce, and she found this sense of happiness with her new partner. So point being, we have a good relationship right now.
And the church teaches wickedness never was happiness. And I think you could argue the church would believe that dating a non-Mormon is not righteous. But again, you not serving a mission seems to have really improved your health and happiness.
Oh, yeah.
And your mom not trying to confine her dating pool to 2 Mormon men in her entire area, dating a non-Mormon. Apparently that's bringing her happiness.
And there was, I think in her ward, there's only like one other Mormon guy her age who was single, and she had no interest in him whatsoever.
Yeah.
And he had been reaching out to her like multiple occasions.
Yeah.
To the point which she had to go to the bishop and tell this guy to stop.
Stop stalking me.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Gosh.
Funny and dark.
Mm.
You make a comment in your outline about the church not being built for people. Do you want to make that point?
Yeah, I mentioned this earlier, or I alluded to it, I think, but my mom is a single mother. The church is built for families, built for husband and wife. And my mom, as a single mother, doesn't have full control over her kids all the time because my dad, ex-Mormon, non-Mormon, no church. She can't control whether they go to church all the time. And my bishop, or the bishop there, seeing that my 2 brothers aren't always going to church, asks questions. He's like, hey, where were they this Sunday? And he doesn't let them have active temple recommends because they don't attend church all the time. That's out of their control. That's out of my mom's control because split custody, just legal issues, deals with that. And being a single mother doesn't always work in the Mormon church because my mom doesn't have full control over whether or not my 2 brothers go to church. And sorry, that's all I got.
No, can I just add, we talk a lot about the proclamation on the family being problematic, and usually it's problematic from the standpoint of condemning gay, lesbian, transgender people. But this is reminding me of another major way the proclamation on the family, which is the Mormon Church's statement on families, is deeply problematic. It literally says in there, a husband's role is to preside over the family and provide. And then it says a mother's job is to nurture the children. Now, how does your mom process looking at the Mormon Church's proclamation on the family? She doesn't have a husband in the home, so the husband's supposed to preside. He's not presiding, so it's not fitting that for her. Mm-hmm. And then the husband's supposed to be providing, yet as far as I know, she's working, right?
Yeah.
And then her job's to nurture the kids, but not the husbands, the ex-husband. And I'm sure your dad is providing nurturing. So in what world does the proclamation on the family in its most core sense apply to your mom?
Well, not in this one.
Yeah.
But when I was still in the house during high school and my parents were divorced, I felt like I took on the role of the priesthood holder in the house.
Yeah.
And as far as blessings go, we'd have friends over to give those blessings.
Yeah.
But as soon as I left, the household lost that priesthood authority because my brother, although he was old enough, the middle one, he wasn't an active priesthood holder. He didn't go to church that often.
Yeah.
And
it's also dumb. Why can't your mom give blessings? Why can't your mom preside? Why can't your mom have the authority?
You can't have that.
I know, but I'm just, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think women should have priesthood power at this point. I mean, with how progressive the church has been over the past few years, there are some big things I feel like that are bound to change in order to make the church succeed. But another big thing about priesthood power, there's a rule that missionaries can't be in the presence of like a female if there's not a priesthood holder around in the house. So my mom couldn't have the elders over anymore because she was a stay-at-home mom and there's not stay-at-home mom, sorry, a single mom, and there was no male in the house, no priesthood holding male to protect her from the 2 elders. Was it that she was going to seduce the missionaries or the missionaries were going to assault her? Like, what's the rule there?
Yeah.
I don't know. And then, so she had to take missionaries out to dinner a lot.
Yeah.
But we haven't had the missionaries over in months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a couple specific rebuilding questions for you.
Okay.
One is, you spoke briefly about this, but I'd love to know more detail about Sundays. So it used to be, Sundays were really church defined, getting up, going to church. how are they different now?
So I always woke up back in the day, like early on Sundays. Everything was super regimented. But now I just sleep in. I do whatever I want, frankly. Like Sunday is a day of rest. One of my favorite things to do right now is to go to a local coffee shop, get something to drink, chill and read for a few hours, and then just, I mean, anything for the rest of the day. I really like the idea of having Sunday as a day of rest because rest is something that's definitely needed. And I found that after leaving BYU, because at BYU, I didn't give myself rest. I was still working so hard all the time, trying to be the best I could be, never resting. Yet I felt more success in life in every like professional, personal matter when I get that rest I need on Sunday, just doing anything that my desires appease to.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, another question I have is early on you spoke about really liking rules
Mhm.
and a sense of structure to your days, like routine. And it feels like, up until recently, a lot of those rules and routines were kind of given to you through, or at least were informed by the church in some way. What is your relationship to like rules and routines now? And what is working for you with regard to that? What update have you made?
Yeah, that's a good question. So at this point, as far as rules go, I don't have the word of wisdom or anything anymore. So I kind of just try to stay healthy. I like keeping my body in shape and working out a lot. And as far as routine goes, I like working out at least like 3 days a week. I want to stay healthy, live a long life. And I mean, over the summer, I'm just working. That's my routine. I just go to work. I'm working 2 jobs right now. I'm a custodian for our local school district. And then I work at a food truck called the Mighty Greek Food Truck. If you're in Central Oregon, check it out. The Mighty Greek Food Truck.
Sounds
we love
good.
Greek food.
Yeah. Yeah, it's owned by some family friends. So really good food. Yeah. So work is my routine over the summers. And then once school starts, it's really easy to get routine. It's just classes and clubs and what have you. But I feel like my routines themselves, my rules are just a lot more free now that I've left the church because I can do all these rules, all these routines without the lens of the Mormon church. It's all on my own time. It's all based on what I want for my future and for my life. Yeah.
Okay, I just have a couple other ones.
All right.
Okay, so I have a question around, it feels like within the church, we come to value ourselves in a certain way, right? Like the overachieving, perfectionism, following the prescribed path, like you've described, where it's kind of like do all the things when you're young, and then you have, mission, marriage, right? There's like this very prescriptive way to have value or social currency in the church. So I was going to ask, is that something you have, clearly you've let that go because you no longer, but, what for you makes you feel valued? What makes you feel like you have value?
Yes.
Currently?
As someone who's a perfectionist and overachiever as a kid and just throughout my whole teenage years, it's something that was definitely reinforced. So it's something that still kind of plagues me, I guess. I still try to always be doing something, just with the caveat that I leave Sunday as a complete day of rest. And I feel like that adds a bit more success in doing all these things. But
Yeah. And then I was going to ask you lastly, what inspires you lately?
Inspires me?
Yeah. Like, is it learning? Is it nature? Is it like, where do you feel a sense of feeling uplifted or inspired?
Okay. Yeah. So I guess there's places that make me feel happy, places that bring me inspiration. I mean, I work out a lot. I like running. I like running in nature. We've got a really nice canyon in Redmond. I like running through that. I like working out at the gym. I feel like places like that or working out is a place I can be alone with my thoughts, and I can get that same kind of meditation I get during prayer just by running, just by working out. I can be alone. I can just be there with my thoughts. Additionally, like I mentioned earlier, reading at coffee places. I just finished Les Mis. That was a fun read.
Victor Hugo, that's not a small book.
No, it was pretty big. It was like 5 months, I think. And I'm just starting the Count of Monte Cristo.
Also not a
Ooh,
small
love
book.
that
Yeah, I like big
one.
books. Yeah.
It's a great book. Yeah.
And something I didn't touch on earlier, which I'd like to mention, another book thing. I started reading Ayn Rand's books, The
Mhm.
Fountainhead.
Atlas Shrugged.
What are the other two?
Atlas Shrugged.
Atlas
is one.
Shrugged, and then
Anthem.
Anthem. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I read
Margie
those
knows
three.
literature.
I like to read.
Yeah, I read those three, and I read those while I was still Mormon. So I feel like the individualistic philosophy kind of gave me again that outside view beyond the Mormon Church. So reading is definitely a place where I find inspiration. It's a place where I like seeing people's stories, seeing ideas. It's definitely where I do like the most ruminating, I think.
Mm,
Beautiful.
thanks for that.
Well, I just want to say I can't thank you enough. Like, on the one hand, I have so many positive, I don't know, things I experienced or learned from my mission. I also had a lot of mission trauma. And I know on average, most ex-Mormons that I talk to say they're glad that they served their mission. So like on the one hand, that on the other hand, I just am really grateful that you're willing to come on, be so vulnerable, share your story, and most importantly, provide a role model or hope for people. And again, I would guess you're not opposed to people going on missions. You're not opposed to people being in the church.
Like if it works for them,
yeah,
all power to you. Do it.
you wrote that in your outline. If somebody wants to be a believing Mormon, if they want to go on a mission, awesome.
Yeah.
Which I think Margie and I agree as well. What people don't have are enough role models of people saying, you know what, I'm listening inside. This isn't working for me. And I'm going to go a different path, even though it's hard. And then hearing that it can be okay.
Mhm.
When you were saying at that one point, your stake president telling you you'll never be happy, it's dark, you'll be miserable. I've seen this happen before. That just full stop is abusive language.
Yeah,
And the reason, go ahead.
Brother, I'm a very mellow person, like very nonchalant. I don't
Mhm.
show emotion much. But when he said that to me, that's like the first point in my life where I felt genuine and pure anger.
Yeah.
Like I feel like my motivation for everything after that point was to be happy, to prove him wrong, and
Aw.
prove him wrong I did. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason why that's abusive is because it's abuser language. And an abusive partner is always going to tell their partner, number one, I'm abusing you. They're not going to say that. They're abusing their partner. But then when the partner wants to leave, they're going to say, you'll never be happy without me.
Mhm.
You can't be happy without me. You need me to be happy. Where will you go? You have no options. And that's just a classic abusive relationship.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful and really appreciate that you're willing to come on and give those who just are not feeling like the mission's going to be for them, don't want to waste a couple of years or put their mental health at risk. You're standing up and saying, hey, I'm one instance of somebody that has actually really benefited from declining my mission call, or in theory, not going on a mission at all.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I
think
really
that's
hope
important.
this reaches those people in the church who are struggling just as I was. I really hope my message reaches them. My intended audience are those people who are just like me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's hope this gets to them so they understand that life will be okay without the LDS church, without their mission. I'm not saying you need to leave it. I'm not saying you don't need to go, but you don't have to if you don't want to.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. And at this point, one thing I love, I think you said it in a podcast recently, John, the gift of this whole process you've been through is yourself.
Mhm.
And the gift is the rest of your life. And that is just heartwarming because how old are you?
20.
I mean, I'm here for it. And I can't wait to hear or touch base with you as you create a life.
Yeah. Before this, before as a Mormon, my life was very, I could see everything. I knew what it was going to look like. But now there's nothing. And that's great, honestly. I have a world of opportunity ahead of me, and that's just super exciting. Yeah.
It says it all.
Mhm.
I think we should end there.
I'd like to add a couple of things.
Okay, please.
Just more about that, I guess. On that, there is a Mary Oliver quote from the poem
We're here for that.
The Summer Day.
Yeah.
I
It
love
goes-
summer day.
It's, tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? That quote reinforces what I just said. I didn't want to do with my life the Mormon Church. I wanted what I wanted, and now I'm working towards it. And then recently, there's a song I've been listening to a lot. It's Future Days by Pearl Jam. The line is, I believe, and I believe because I can see our future days, days of you and me. And I feel like I didn't see that in the church. I didn't see my future days at being happy. I just saw them being what the church wanted for me. And it's something I see now with my partner, something I see with my relationship. I see future days of joy. And prior to that, my future was just built on faith and the hope that I'd be happy. And now I just know that things are going to work out better than they would have in the Mormon Church.
That's everything. Yeah.
So happy for you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Anything else?
That's all.
All right. Well, thank you, Benson Lawson, so much for sharing your story with us and traveling to Utah
Yeah.
to tell your Mormon story.
It was a fun trip.
And Margie, thanks for being my co-host.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thanks to everyone for joining us today on Mormon Stories. Really quickly, we could not do this without the support of our donors. So if you're a donor, thank you. You make this possible. Our ad revenue is in free fall for whatever reason with the algorithms. So we've always relied on donor revenue to be what keeps us afloat. So if you're a donor, thank you. If you're not, and you value this type of content, you think it could help people, we would really appreciate it if you would consider going to mormonstories.org/donate. Click on the donate button, become a monthly donor, and we promise, our finances are transparent. We're tax deductible in the U.S., and we do our best to spend your money in aligned with the mission of the Open Stories Foundation. So please support us if you can. Financially, if you can't, don't worry at all. We still want to give this away for free, but there are ways you can help us. Either way, you can subscribe to this channel, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. You can subscribe, even Patreon. You can like these episodes. You can comment on them. You can give us your feedback at mormonstories@gmail.com. You can share these episodes. If you're aware of a young person who you sense it's not going to be healthy for them to serve a mission, and you think Benson's story might be helpful, share this episode with them or with their parents, just so that people can know all the options and feel that there's hope and a path for them regardless. So sharing this episode is a way to help other people and help us. Anyway, thanks so much. We love people to apply. Benson, I think we found out about you because you applied to be on the show.
Yeah, I applied. It was a video interview, just a little bit about myself. And then Margie reached out to me, and that was that.
Yeah. So if you feel like you've got a story that you think our audience would enjoy and benefit from, just go to mormonstories.org, click on the application link or button, fill out the form. It's a little Google form, and then you'll record a 3-minute video. You'll upload the video and share it with us. We can't accept every applicant because we get 1,000 a year, and we only do, 50 interviews a year. But we're always looking for new and good stories because, we know they help people. So please apply. Right now, I'm just going to put out a call for it. For some reason, our application pool for people above 40 has been a little bit less lately. So if you're 40, 50, 60, 70, and you've got a faith journey you want to share, kind of just a traditional Mormon story faith journey, we would love to have you apply. So please consider applying in any situation, but in that demographic, we would like some more applications. So please consider that. And we're always just interested in regular, everyday Mormon stories. So anyway, please apply if you want. Thanks for joining us today. Be good to each other. Be kind to each other. And we'll see you all again soon on another episode of Mormon Stories Podcast. Take care.